It's FEMA's job, since they were set up in 1979 by the outgoing Jimmy Carter, to deal with continuity of government, nuclear war, emergencies, earthquakes, man-made natural disasters. So they're always preparing for biological pandemics, mass graves, you name it. In fact, Aaron Dykes wrote an article like 3 years ago that made national news with the headline that states prepare mass graves. And then we show the state documents with the phone numbers. In fact, will you guys print me that? Just states prepare for mass graves, pandemic, Aaron Dykes, Infowars.com. That should pull it up if you put the Infowars.com in. Because before I get to Paul Watson's article, and Paul's a great guy, my best writer, my most prolific. But so many times we will take something and then dial it back because we don't want to sound sensational. If it is sensational, it is sensational. And then you should report it. So many times in history, incredibly bad things happen because people can't believe something amazing is happening, either amazingly good or amazingly bad. So many people have something wonderful drop in their laps, and they will self-destructively destroy themselves to sabotage it, not believing that they could be successful. But they did find the actual article. Let's throw it back up there. There's the Aaron Dykes article from JonesReport.com, a site we don't really update anymore, but we intend to down the road. Plans for mass graves confirmed. Government surveying cemetery readiness for flu outbreak. Print me that again. Thank you. And then I'm going to have Watson add that to his article because I ended up editing here on air. And I have the guys correct me on air as well. We're all helping each other. We're all correcting each other. We're trying to get it right. And, you know, his article isn't scary enough. His article isn't bad enough. His article needs to get people concerned so that we can have a debate about this and hopefully stop whatever's coming, or at least be individually prepared for it. Because it's not my job to scare you, but when something is scary, it's not my job to say, is FEMA preparing for a pandemic? Question mark. Federal agency seeks 40-yard dumpsters for biomedical waste disposal during emergency. Well, I mean, they're preparing mass graves. They're preparing forced inoculations. They're preparing under InfraGard, lockdowns, under clergy response teams. The church is saying, take your inoculations, go to the camp, it's of the Lord. That's on the news. I could play TV clips with them reporting it like it's a good thing. Here's the article. I'm going to have this added to Paul Watson's report. The headline is, FEMA accelerates or expands preparation for biological pandemic. Or medical waste could be for a civil war. You know, what they need for a bunch of dead military and police. The point is they're expanding across the board, and their main mission is letting the foreign globalist offshore crime syndicate take over this country. But here it is. Plans for mass graves confirmed. Government surveying cemetery readiness for flu outbreak. And how to bury millions in Illinois, Indiana, New York. That's just 3 states we got documents from. We had one emergency manager on from Indiana near Chicago, you know, close to the border with Illinois, where they wanted to be ready to bury 3 million people on county property in the Indiana area, county, unnamed county. People didn't believe it, so then I got a bunch of documents sent to me by state insiders and funeral homes and folks that own the cemeteries who got the letters saying prepare. And we've got copies of those with phone numbers if you'd like to. So is FEMA preparing for pandemic? Do great white sharks eat seals? Do elephants have long curly trunks and little tails? I don't know. Does the Easter Bunny leave eggs outside for the children? The point is that we're going to get into that and a lot more. Big show lined up for you today. 55 million with an M, dead children in this country since then. And you notice basically every other freedom and liberty is also dying or dead right now at the very, very same time. So coming up in the next hour, I'm going to open the phones up specifically for a discussion of abortion, whether you're for it, against it, whether you agree with me, disagree, whether you have your own stories to tell. But I look at my 3 children, and I think about the fact that they could have been aborted. I could have legally gone and killed them. Or my wife could have legally gone and killed them. And I imagine the world without them and all the joy they've brought me and how I have a love for them that transcends that for my father, my mother, my wife. It is the strongest love out there. And just even imagining them in distress or imagining them being slaves or imagining them living under this tyranny breaks my heart. And for people that don't love, they don't know what it means to have your heart broken. It's when you feel broken inside. It is a constant pain when people that you love die. And then every time you remember them, the heartbrokenness comes back. But there is an emptiness in love that's also fulfilling. It's better to have loved and lost than never have loved at all. And love is the secret in the world. It's what ties us all together. It's what binds us, those of us that love goodness. And that doesn't mean that those of us that love goodness are wimps or that we have a narrow vision. I have a wide vision into evil and into corruption. I understand it as well. And I understand worldliness, and I understand hatred. I understand avarice. I understand will to power. I understand the ideas of dominance. And certainly when you're young and immature, those things are more attractive, but they become less and less attractive. So that when I have to defeat somebody or dominate somebody in righteousness, I don't take a pleasure in it. It is more a mechanical function, and I'm more effective at it not being as emotional. But I do fall back into emotionalism on a routine basis, and we have emotions for a reason. We're meant to get angry. We're meant to hate evil. But my love of the innocent is so much stronger that it is just a whole universe of my being compared to the reservoir of hate and evil that is also in my heart. But then again, I'm beginning to attempt to wax poetic here today. Wow, this is one of those days where I am just absolutely overwhelmed by the amount of news that we've got here. I just mentioned this in the last segment. FEMA is preparing for mass pandemic, buying giant dumpsters to put, quote, medical waste. You know, that we know they've bought coffins and prepared mass graves. And if you want to see the proof of that, we have an article from 2009, Infowars.com, that I've had added to Paul Watson's new article that's out today. Plans for mass graves confirmed. Government surveying cemetery readiness for flu outbreak and tens of millions dead. And that's ongoing. But, you know, we don't just have one article about FEMA gearing up today and then move on to another. We then also connect it back to some of the back knowledge. In fact, let's put that article back up with the headline there for folks. And then let's click on some of those documents, actually, so folks can see that are watching us on television at prisonplanet.tv and InfoWarsNews.com. And there you can see the Bureau of Cemeteries out of New York and the director of it saying prepare for millions of dead and mass graves. And, of course, we got these documents from Indiana, Illinois, New York, Arizona, and others when people were in denial about our FEMA preparing mass graves report, which FEMA was involved in. And they put out a big disinfo piece in the news saying that that was not true and not the case, and that the coffin liners had a dual purpose. Well, of course they have a dual purpose. The military training for urban warfare and gun confiscation domestically can be used in Macedonia or Iraq or Libya or anywhere else. But they're also training domestically on record to confiscate our guns if ordered to do so under Presidential Decision Directive 51 and others. And it's declassified and leaked 50-plus different ways or more. Army Times, Associated Press, Infowars.com. In the last 6 years, that preparation is being accelerated. So I'm sick of the denial and, oh, it's that crazy guy, Alex Jones. You know, he thinks the government's gearing up for martial law. We're already in a form of martial law in this country. So up on Infowars.com right now, let me just mention some of these headlines, and then I will get into all the other news. FEMA accelerates preparations for pandemic. Report TSA threatens to put man on list over parody video. I'm going to be getting to that. There's actual audio of this up on the site. cynical new PR stunt greases skids for humanitarian invasion of Syria. Very important new hoax, just like the chemical weapons attack hoax has now been not double, triple, quadruple, but the UN, all the inspectors, even this week, new documents came out yesterday that it was totally launched by the Syrian rebels, funded by Bandar Bush, Prince Bandar out of Saudi Arabia. Same one launching terror attacks all over Russia right now. Here's another one. How dare they invite Iran to the Syrian peace conference? Yes, there's a big freak out about that. Again, we're going to get into the $23 trillion credit bubble in China that's starting to collapse and may signal the next major global financial crisis. And then there's another story that says U.S. Army elite special forces train with local cops in secretive joint exercise. That's outside Fort Bragg, and normally when there's an urban warfare training drill, we've gone out to many of these and documented that it's to acclimate the public, to prepare the general population for martial law, that it is a militarization of police program to condition everyone to accept it, and that's now on record. In this particular case, I think it's important to report on it, but it's part of a program they've had since the 40s for Special Forces qualification graduations. And they've got different ones, the SAGE program and others, but that's what this is. And they've had cases where police have actually killed Special Forces trainees because the Special Forces trainees think that they're supposed to subdue a cop in a drill, but the cop isn't part of the drill and kills them. It was a case like 5 years ago where the cop shot and killed 2 of them who were trying to disarm him. They thought he was the guy part of the drill. He had just pulled somebody over at the designated spot where it was supposed to happen 10 minutes later. A case of the wrong place at the wrong time, and 2 guys in camo with their faces blacked out, you know, with green paint on them, ran up to disarm him, and, well, it was more of an exercise than they were ready for, a tragedy. What's happening in the Fort Bragg area there in the Carolinas is part of a normal drill. But the problem is that in other areas, this has been used to blur the lines, and they have expanded it. So there's that report. Now, let me get into all the serious news here. If you're watching me on TV, document cam, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 stacks, okay? Some of these stacks are 20 articles thick. And we're going to skip this network break because I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to finally succeed. I've never succeeded in almost 19 years on air. I guess it's 19 years now, starting this year. I'm going to read just the top headlines and move on. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right now. Organic food shortages hit U.S. Party sees on abortion issue in midterm race. I am overwhelmed by 55 million babies killed since Roe v. Wade. Life News. Top story on DrudgeReport.com. Continuing, Thai government declares state of emergency as protests drag on. Russian police kill terrorist suspect in Winter Olympic security crackdown. After collapse, 6 likely events that will follow an economic crash. I definitely need to pull that and cover that. NSA sets goal tread for surveillance, Human Rights Watch. Hostility in the high seas, Iran sends warships to Atlantic Ocean in historic first. I mean, I've just read a few articles out of hundreds, folks. I mean, this is insane. Geithner warned S&P chairman U.S. would retaliate for downgrade. London barman attempts citizens' arrest on ex-UK PM Blair over Iraq war crimes. There's video. 68 expect NSA phone spying to stay the same or increase. You know, I think they know what's going on. Privacy tools used by 28% of the online world, research finds. Sorry, liberals. Martin Luther King Jr. believed in Second Amendment rights. Ooh, I got to cover that one. See, I already saw these headlines, but I've just got to get to all this. There's so much. I don't even have time to cover this whole stack. Here, let me just go to another one here. This is really important on the economic front right here. U.S. debt up $1,608,304 for each baby born the year Obama took office. So children born that year all individually owe over $1,600,000. according to the globalists who signed us on to all their own debt. Oh, see, I'm now breaking my rule. Who are the new middle class around the world? You'd be surprised how poor they are. Yes, under new middle class standards, under Agenda 21, you will make $4 to $13 a day and will be considered elite. So get ready, but you will have a smartphone that tracks everything you do. That'll be subsidized. Your own little microwaving spy droid. Spain's worst year for work leaves Rajoy counting cost as they go under the New World Order. The 23 trillion credit bubble in China is starting to collapse. Financial crisis next. If he was around today, Thomas Jefferson would be considered a Tea Party extremist. 20 quotes. We'll see if we can get to that today. That is just some of the news on that front. And I'm not even covering the top stuff yet. I'm just going over the stacks here to show you what I'm dealing with here. Oh, my goodness. This is unbelievable. This is absolutely unbelievable. Let me just continue here with some of the other news. Optimism and positive outlook seems to help people stay healthier as they age. Washington Post, Financial Times, red wine and chocolate could fight type 2 diabetes, research warns. That's why Bloomberg wants to restrict them. See, all their, quote, health food moves are meant to restrict healthy food that you're allowed to get or to just tax food in general. Like, they don't say what fats are bad, like trans fats. They just say all fats are bad, even though your brain needs them. Sitting at work for hours can be as unhealthy as smoking. No kidding. CBS News. That's just some of the news on that front I'll get more into. Let's move on to this stack. Bill Gates sees almost no poor countries left by 2035. Yeah, because they're going to be reducing population worldwide and claiming that you're not poor if you make $4 a day. See, they just changed definitions. Fugitive U.S. leaker Snowden fears for his life after open U.S. senators and intelligence officials call for his murder and his death. Murder, death, killed. White House drug czar contradicts Obama on marijuana. Says that marijuana is much stronger today and basically needs to stay illegal. Doesn't matter. You guys just want to keep it illegal so you can get a cut off the money in the black market. The other government agencies know they'll make more money taxing it, and that's why there's a bureaucratic battle. I say decriminalize it because people are going to smoke their brains anyways. That's their problem, not my problem. I don't need to be pulled over and asked if I've got Mary Jane on me because some idiot wants to smoke a bunch of it and sit there and, you know, live in their mom's basement all day. And I know all pot smokers don't do that, but do not tell me that marijuana isn't a powerful hallucinogen in the psychotropic class and knocks you on your hind end now, most of it. And then that's why Soros is promoting it. You can smoke your dope, and I say decriminalize it and legalize it and regulate it, but doesn't mean I got to endorse it. Amazon plans to ship customers packages before they even order them, literally predicting the future. And I've told you this is the future of everything, and it's going to wreck society, folks. I'm going to be breaking that down coming up. Report, Microsoft planning and paying YouTubers for positive Xbox coverage. Yeah, of course. Inside secret Chinese camps curing internet addiction. And as much as I don't like the Chinese re-education camps, internet addiction is a very serious phenomenon in children especially, and is reprogramming their brains and screwing them up. But you cannot stop parents, particularly women in the studies, giving their kids smartphones and letting them live on them because they're addicted too. This is the takedown of society. Also, the coming GOP amnesty push sellout. We're going to be breaking that down. Also, Mark Dice, this is up on Infowars.com, got Californians to take bottled water imported from Fukushima that's radioactive, and they took it and thought it was good. We're going to be playing that video today. We got a lot of videos coming up on the transmission. Again, I'm just giving you what's in some of the top of the stacks, okay? I'm going to go back into all this in detail. Glenn Beck to the New York Governor Cuomo. Are our tax dollars not welcome here as well? You know, pro-lifers, conservatives, gun owners, you're not welcome. They don't care if everything collapses. That's what they want. They want to say we're a cult and you're not welcome. You know, we're open and liberal. That's why we don't tolerate anybody having views different than ours, because we're authoritarians. But it's okay because we have the moral high ground because we said we did, because, you know, Andrew Cuomo's a known gangster along with his thug dad, Mario Cuomo, who hangs out at Bilderberg meetings. I mean, these are scum of the earth thugs. And but you know, they're going to tell you what you eat, what you do, how much salt you have, how big your soft drink is. They're going to tell you parents aren't parents, the state's God. They're going to tell you you can't own guns, but they got bodyguards. I'm talking about Bloomberg and Cuomo. And then they're going to tell you, get out of the state. Get out of the state if you don't like killing babies. Get out of the state if you don't want to pay for it with your tax money. Get out of the state, Catholic Church, if you don't want to pay for abortions inside the institution. And just like they've infiltrated the Catholic Church with all the pedophiles, that's what's going on in the public schools. And they're going, let us teach your 5-year-old how to have anal sex or how to do things I can't even mention on air. Let us teach your 6-year-old how to masturbate. You're like, well, that's pedophilia. Oh, homophobe, arrest them. Putin's absolutely right when he comes out and says, gay people are welcome at the Olympics. By the way, I don't report on this and say this because I have something against, quote, gay people. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of not being able to watch any TV show without being bombarded with sexual propaganda constantly. I'm tired of the agenda. And it is really causing a backlash in me, somebody who's never, put it on my radar. And somebody who's not obsessed with it. Because there are people that are definitely latent homosexuals that are obsessed with it all day. We all know that's going on. I don't judge any of these people. But here's the deal. You keep your hands off our kids. And Putin said this. He said, do not come trying to parade it in front of kids. Do not try to sell the agenda. And that's what it is. It is indoctrination because the militant, homosexual, liberal, commie, eugenics agenda, on record, ladies and gentlemen, cannot reproduce. And so they get their kids from CPS kids that are taken. That's on record. And I'm tired of being hunted. I'm tired of being food. Because, that's all it is. We have a predatory society and gangs, whether it's bad police groups or bad military groups in history or bad bureaucracies or bad street-level gangs. When society starts collapsing, people get into gangs. And I don't like when I'm in a restaurant that has a bar in it and you're out in the countryside and the local country boy mob shows up who doesn't even own cattle and doesn't, don't even know how to, all hat and no cattle or whatever, and they show up and are acting tough in the bar trying to start fights. I'm not against people that have cowboy hats and have a ranch and drive a Ford F-150. I'm that guy, literally. I just don't wear the cowboy hat. But when I see the townspeople, it's always the towns guys that want to come in and start a fight in the bar, I then don't like fake rednecks. You understand that? It's the same thing with gay people. I don't like the fact that there's this whole thing, kiss in front of everybody, in front of kids, go to neighborhood areas and do this, shove it in your face. I wouldn't like being at a restaurant and a heterosexual couple gets up and starts kissing in front of my kids, all because it's being done on purpose to get attention and to take over my mind and dominate me. And we all know immature people that do that. Hey, get a room. Go crazy. Just do not sit there and throw it in my face. I've got stuff going on in my mind. I'm talking to somebody. I don't want you to dominate what I'm doing. You want to tune into my radio show, do it. You want somebody to listen to you, go get a radio show. Go get a TV show. And we'll see if people want to watch you. We'll see if they want to listen to you. What it is losers that want to force their agenda, period. And it could be anything. It's like the South Park deal on motorcycle gangs. A lot of motorcycle people are great folks. I like them. Pro-gun, pro-liberty. But we all know the thug wannabe gangster type. We all know the thug culture types. Most of the real criminal motorcycle gangs aren't out stirring up trouble. They're making money. But the wannabe criminal outlaw motorcycle gangs, the 1%ers, the 3%ers, whatever you want to call them, they're the type of people that will literally go around into a nice resort area and try to intimidate families sitting around eating lunch with their family. Because they're mentally ill scum that want to go push people around. That's who fills the government now. That's who fills tyranny now. That's who fills the sails of the ship of tyranny. And it's a mindset, and it's a gangster mindset, and it's a gang mindset. It's a gang mentality. Read a law enforcement gang handbook, or go research, go buy a book, or go to the library and get a book or an online book on gang psychology. And then look around you. It's gang psychology everywhere because humans are meant to be in tribes. We're meant to be in gangs. But by having the image of a gang being bad thugs that are mean and pushy, they've taken over society. We're supposed to have gangs that are in the Bill of Rights Constitution, the family, private property, pro-life, being upstanding, having a good name, and then everyone wants to do business with you. Everyone wants to work with you. Everyone wants to be around you. And you create civilizations of honor and dignity and working together. And then the criminals are displaced and finally destroyed and pushed out to the total edges of society and are jokes. But Hollywood and the culture on purpose has glorified criminals of all types, and that's the gangster culture that's taking over. Now, Now, listen, I did the best I've ever done in 19 years on air. I realize it's 19 years next month. 19 years on air, and I just covered a big blitz of news, but that's nothing. I only covered maybe 10% of it. Now, I'm going to look at what I already covered. I'm going to pick 4 or 5 things I think are most important. And then I'm going to come back on the other side and cover that bunch of audio and video clips. Then we're going to open the phones up for a discussion of 55 million dead babies, 40 years today, Roe v. Wade. Stay with us. After anti-gun press conference, the anti-gun movement has given yet another reason why you should disregard comments from self-described experts on the alleged dangers of firearms ownership. California Senator Kevin De Leon recently made a fool of himself while attempting to explain the most basic attributes of a firearm. And I forget, what was that state senator? She's now been recalled. We ought to look this up. Something like Colorado anti-gun rep makes fool of herself. That was last year, about 6 months ago. She gets up, she goes, listen, you say I won't do anything banning these high-capacity magazines. You have to throw the gun away once you've used the magazine. And you have to throw the magazine away. Didn't know that the magazines or clips can be used basically forever. Didn't know you could shoot hundreds of thousands of rounds that came out of a magazine. Has no idea. No idea. And so there's really 2 different types of anti-gunners. And I've experienced this in my life, dealing with friends of my families that are very nice people. They would give you the shirt off their back. They would, they give money to charity. They help little old ladies. Liberals, real liberals who really care about society, really think abortions are right, really doesn't think it's a baby, really want to empower women, think breaking up the family will do it, really thinks high taxes are to help people, doesn't understand the ultra-rich get high taxes passed so they can selectively write laws to be exempt, shut down their competition, and then get the tax money as banker bailouts and corporate welfare. I've run into liberals over the years, and some of them I've known since I was a child. One of them, who I've told the story, was a national editor of a major newspaper, and then a national editor of a major magazine, and is still an editor of a major magazine. And in college, I went to my parents' house to get in the gun safe in my dad's closet, because obviously, college, I wasn't keeping a bunch of guns at my place, even though I lived off campus. And I was going to get a bunch of deer rifles and stuff to go hunting and shooting. Because, when you end up going deer hunting, you're not really going deer hunting. You're going to shoot a bunch of your guns out at the ranch. And I was walking out, and I walked out with some rifles and went out to the car and was coming back to get some more guns. And I heard, out of the living room, looking into the study by my parents' bedroom where I was coming out from the gun safe. And I heard, is that a gun? Is that a gun? And my dad said, yes, it is. He keeps his guns here. He didn't want them getting stolen. Loaded, Just having a panic attack. And my dad goes, hold on just a minute. He goes in and gets me. He gets one of the guns. I think it was a revolver. And he comes in, he goes, look, it's unloaded. There's nothing. No, please, get it out of here, David. And then we go, okay, we're putting it up. And let me tell you something. When we put the gun back up, he was like, listen, he had sweat coming down his head. He goes, I do not appreciate that. I don't know why you tried to terrorize me like that. That was completely inappropriate. And in all my years knowing you, Alex, and you, David, I've known you, Alex, since you were a baby. I cannot believe this. These are people my parents vacation with, you name it. And I've since seen him, like 5 years later, we were at the beach. My parents went. I went with some friends, got another beach house by him. Some friends of my parents, my best friends. And he was over there. They were having cocktails. And I said, hey, remember that? And he's like, let's not discuss it. I've already forgiven you. And I was going to say, man, it's not a big deal. Let me take you out to a shooting range sometime. So you have to understand, folks, they literally, when you were a child, maybe you were at a babysitter's house and they let you see a horror movie and you got scared of aliens or something. And I was like 6 years old and the VHS had just come out and they had Alien on that and they put it in when I was like 6 years old. And I sat there with a babysitter and just, totally scared the daylights out of me. And for years I'd be walking by in the house and see that my mom had this black and gray vacuum cleaner that kind of would stick out of the closet looking like the alien hiding in the closet. And I mean, that was something I actually had fears of course, got over it very quickly. My dad said, no, you're not sleeping with us. You've been sleeping by yourself since you were 3. You're not coming back into bed with us now. But the point is, that's how the average Democrat thinks of a gun, is literally like I opened a closet when I was 6 and the alien comes out to eat me. I mean, that's the type of fear that these people have. I'm talking sweating in 30 seconds, having a total freak out that they saw me walking by with a gun. So it doesn't matter that gun crimes dropped 51% since 1992, the FBI's own numbers. It doesn't matter if mass shootings are flat. None of that matters. None of that even has an issue. Because they'll take a tragic shooting. You know, the whole family will die. 6 people in a minivan. Their guts, brains are all over the highway, dead babies. They'll never show it on the news. The cops and EMTs have to deal with that, and it traumatizes them. Worst part about being a cop, I've been told by family that are police, is the dead bodies at car wrecks. Forget all the other stuff. It's the dead kids at car wrecks. People's heads chopped off, you name it. I've seen a few fatal car wrecks growing up in Dallas, believe me, like Road Warrior or something. Because my dad would always pull over to help. He's one of those old-fashioned bad guys, you know, that actually try to help. Even if 10 cars stopped ahead of him, he would stop. You know, a goody two-shoes, a troublemaker. Like John Bound telling a lady, don't stand 1 foot from your burning car. People are in that saying, you know, you troublemaker, let her stand by the car, it's safe. So, where am I going with this? There are the types that are scared to death and actually have a Pavlovian psychological response, like dressing up like a demon and running into your 2-year-old's bedroom to scare them. That's what they're doing, is terrorizing childlike brains. People that are smart when it comes to literature and art and are intellectual and probably have 130 IQs, they still have an emotional response to guns. And the police can tase you and the government can beat you, but if they see a parent spank their kid in a J.C. Penney's because the kid's throwing a fit, they go and call the police. You see that in the news all the time where the cops come and don't do anything, but then CPS gets the name and comes later because the mother's seen saying, stop that, and the kid stops. And then somebody tattles, and the police get called, and the police go, well, we don't see any marks, but we got to file a report. CPS still comes. It tries to take the kid, even though it's not illegal to spank your kids. But then when your kid's bad, the state's going to end up spanking them by putting them in prison, putting them on psychotropic drugs to make them behave. That actually attack the body. But that's okay because the state's doing it. So you got the types that are irrationally scared. There are real liberals out there who really think they're good people, who are good people, but that are traumatized somehow and never grew up around guns and believe the propaganda. Now, that's the majority of them. But at the top, the Bloombergs, the Cuomos, the Bill Clintons, they've all got bodyguards. They all own guns. It comes out they're shooting enthusiasts. They're always getting caught. They'll have giant gun collections. They don't want you having it. Just like they're tax exempt, all the big corporations, Google, Microsoft, all of them. Michael Moore's got a bunch of guns. He's got 6 bodyguards at any one time, all packing heat. But you're not going to have a gun. So that's why I really don't like Michael Moore and really detest him. Because if you're a well-meaning person that's just wrong, you're a fool, I can't get through to you, you've been brainwashed. But I don't hate you. But if you're Michael Moore or Bloomberg or Cuomo or Dianne Feinstein, I mean, these people know what they're doing. Feinstein reportedly is an incredible shot, goes to the shooting range weekly, owns firearms, packs a SIG 9mm in her purse. In fact, she's given testimony admitting it. This woman has bodyguards. This woman's husband's a billionaire from government deals she gave him on record. She's made over $100 million going to Congress with nothing. She is a disgusting criminal with criminal instinct who wants to disarm her quarry, her target, that is the American people. And what I've told you is total veritas. I've told you simple, basic, 100% truth, and everybody knows it who's not an idiot. So we have a job. Just like they're in the schools trying to turn kids into pervs when they're 5 years old, we need to be in the schools, and we need to be in the culture. That's why I don't want you to be able to say the word gun or draw a picture of your gun or talk about a shooting range. Or they used to have shooting range until 30 years ago in New York City schools, in the basements. They got rid of that. They're getting rid of archery now. They want a domesticated population in their soft war ahead of their full disarmament. And so people like Feinstein and others, they know full well what they're doing. People like Representative Dianne DeGetti, quote, appears to not understand how guns work. That's the Denver Post. Said that you have to throw clips away. And in another statement, said you have to throw guns away once the clip has been used. And I guess she watches Hollywood movies where you're emptying clips and you just throw the guns down. And I mean, I guess if you were on some suicide mission or something, you had 15 guns on you, I guess you might do that. I would just bring 3 guns and a whole bunch of clips. I wouldn't bring 10 guns or whatever. But I mean, this is the mindlessness and the disconnect. I guarantee you this woman and this new California Senator David De Leon, or Kevin De Leon, I guarantee you they go home at night at 7 o'clock and they put on television. You know, have you ever been in a party in a high-rise condo or apartment downtown and you look out, all you see is people in their houses watching television. They're not playing board games. They're not painting. They're not even surfing the internet. They're not having relations with each other. They're not doing push-ups. They're not having friends over. They're watching television. And there's just a blue glow in all the high-rises. That's just all you see. In fact, I'm going to go over to my buddies who lives in a high-rise downtown. I'm going to shoot a video of this with a telephoto lens and just zoom into people's apartments. And they've got their apartment windows open. You're supposed to close the blinds. There's no perception. See, because you got to have an 8-foot fence around your house, and someone can't look over it, or it's a felony. But if you don't have a fence, you can look over at somebody's wife all day out at the thing. It's the same thing. If you're up in a high-rise and you've got your blinds down, you're sitting there with the lights on, there's no perception of privacy. You know, you can't put that on the internet. Then there could be a lawsuit or something. But I can look in and see it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show how people are there watching television. Just to illustrate, they're not having, I mean, all of it. You can sit there at night, and it's just all the floors are glowing blue. You can sit there. I do it with my binoculars when I go over to his house, and just sitting there, or his binoculars, sitting there just looking at all the stuff that's going on. And sitting there, and there's nothing to see because they're watching television. You could see, oh, there's an NBA game on, there's an NFL game. Okay, they're watching sitcoms, they're watching dramas. Is anybody living? Is anybody having a life out there? And why do I bring that up? These people that don't know how guns work, they believe television. Every woman I've talked to about shooting goes, oh, I don't want to shoot a handgun. That'll blow me across the room. And then you end up getting them out to shoot. You end up getting friends and family out to shoot, especially women, never shot. And they can shoot a .44 mag, and it just barely goes back. And they go, that's not a big deal. Now, you start shooting heavy Magnum rifles and things if they don't pull it into their shoulder. But, I mean, you can get a woman out there once she knows how it works with a Barrett 50, and you could fire 10 rounds out of it. Easy as pie. If you could just hold the gun up in the recoil, it's not a big deal. Now, some people will say it is, but I don't think there is. The point is that this is the perception of, oh, I don't want a gun. You fire one of those like Police Academy and the lady flies across the room. Now, again, if you have a rifle and you don't pull it up against your shoulder, like it's part of your body and let your body take the recoil, then there's an issue. You leave an inch space between a rifle and yourself, you're going to get hurt because it's got space to speed up. It's all basic energy issues. And I don't want to digress. It's just that I marvel at the anti-gun culture, how ignorant they are. And I know how to shoot. I'm not even heavy into the gun culture. I went out to the gun rally and wasn't thinking because I had cops looking at me when I got in my car and put my M4 on with the barrel pointed up. I know you point it down. Somebody goes, hey, you got that. You're wearing that wrong. You're wearing that rudely. I was like, I am. Excuse me. You're right. So we all got to keep each other in check. But, I mean, you can't blame me. I got out and had like 8 cops staring right at me. And I was wondering what was going to happen when I got out with a rifle. But we had to do that because they said it was illegal in San Antonio, which it really wasn't. We had to sit at the front of the bus. We had to go down there and exercise that right. And the police backed off. You have to force a right or you lose a right. Now, let's go to this latest moron clip, and we'll go back to the other clip of the Democrat in Colorado saying that you throw clips away after you use them, magazines. This is a California Senator, Kevin De Leon, basically saying stuff just as stupid. Here it is.
This is a ghost gun. This right here has ability with a .30 caliber clip to disperse with 30 bullets within half a second. 30 magazine clip in half a second. I
mean, just everything. He's as dumb as that Miss Teen USA going, USA American, such as is 30 caliber clip, 30 in a second, dispense clip, clip, gun clip. And, of course, the other one takes the cake where she's like, well, of course it's going to stop, issues with guns, you have to throw these clips away after you use them once. Can we get that clip again? No pun intended. Of the lead sponsor in House in Colorado, Representative Diane DeGetti, appears to understand how they work. So again, there's the two camps. You've got the people who know what they're doing and are trying to disarm their slaves.
I do think...
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's go ahead and play that clip if you got it.
Your last... I do think that we can pass those. And just very briefly, to your last question, what's the efficacy of banning these magazine clips? I will tell you, these are ammunition. They're bullets. So the people who have those now, they're going to shoot them. And so if you ban them in the future, the number of these high-capacity magazines is going to decrease dramatically over time because the bullets will have been shot and there won't be any more available.
But, you know, she's letting you into these meetings she's been having with the actual criminals where they're saying we're going to restrict bullets, we're going to shut down the mine smelting, we're going to shut down importation, we're going to ban lead bullets and say they're environmentally bad. We're going to ban them by making you, have a license to own bullets and to own reloading material. I mean, I've talked to a bunch of people I know, and I've seen it in the news where the realtor comes to look at your house and sees reloading equipment in the garage and calls the police. Or they see guns. I've told the story probably 500 times about the carpet cleaner that had the assistant that came to my house and saw a gun case in my studio. And I didn't even have kids then. This is like 14 years ago. The guy said, that's guns. I can't clean this. I'm like, ran out of my house. And about 10 minutes later, I called the carpet cleaning place, and they're like, we can choose not to clean if he doesn't want to, but we've stopped the call of the police. And they were still rude to me, though. So they were calling the police on me for a shotgun and a .243 and a Ruger range rifle and a gun case. I mean, this is how America works. That's their move. Notice they target everything, not just the bad stuff, because it's about control. Michelle Obama doesn't say, don't eat GMO. She basically says, here's your recommended lunch, and it's what the establishment would want you to eat. And here's an article out of Market Watch. Butter is now winning the fat wars. And it goes in to talk about how it's needed with essential fatty acids for the brain and to not get Alzheimer's. The big secret is coconut. Coconut oil, which, remember, was it like 20 years ago? Rush Limbaugh made a big deal about this, where movie theaters stopped using coconut oil and went to like cheap trans fat fake stuff because coconut oil was so bad for you. And they just went with a fake study so that they wouldn't have to use expensive coconut oil on things. I mean, it is just amazing how these people operate. I mean, coconut oil is incredible. I can be exhausted and need to do something like Coast to Coast AM, great radio show, and stay up till 4 in the morning. And coffee doesn't work for me late at night. It gives me a headache. And I will gobble 3 or 4 coconut oil pills, liquid pills, and I will take some other essential fatty acids, and it literally is a brain boost. Stuff that's sold at InfoWarsHealth.com. They got a whole bunch of different coconut supplements and pills, and it's just amazing. But I mean, if you just eat raw coconut, just go get coconuts and bust it open, eat it while you're watching TV. I mean, it's incredible. They don't let you know, though, you need iodine, you need coconut, you need this kind of stuff. There are some people that live in the South Pacific, that live over 100 routinely because they eat a lot of fish and coconut. No kidding. Fish and coconut is good for you. Talk about an amazing diet. See, I've already digressed, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up, a smuggled Syrian photo shows systematic killing of thousands. Another staged event, just like the chemical weapons attack. Paul Watson exposes that up on Infowars.com. We're going to be getting into, is it 40 years or 41 years? The guy's 41 years. I was saying 40 from memory. It's 41 years. That's right, because I could have been aborted, my mother said. There were people who discussed that. Oh, your husband's going through dental school. You don't have the money. Abort. And, of course, I'm their only child. We adopted my sister. And then, well, I'm not going to get into the whole story. But the point is that I'm alive. Alive, ladies and gentlemen, even though all the trendies were like, oh, this is the coolest new thing. My mother, she worked at the Dallas Morning News. This is the thing to do. you're going to go up in the world. You're going to do great. Kill Alex Jones before he ever exists outside the womb. Imagine all the 55 million Americans, all the actors, all the poets, all the sports icons, all the inventors, all the scientists, all the people, all the friends we'll never know. I'm going to talk about that coming up in the next hour and open the phones up for a discussion about that. Briefly, we are a listener-supported transmission, and it is important to add that we have the very best products that we've developed with top scientists and medical doctors and others, nutritionists, you name it, at InfoWarsLife.com. And we've got the government ThyroSafe they say get, for during a huge emergency, but that's for an emergency. You take the Nascent Iodine Survival Shield from InfoWarsLife.com on a daily basis, but check with your doctor first. And just take the InfoWars Survival Shield and Fluoride Shield Challenge. And so you've supported the broadcast and spent $29 or whatever. You take it, see what happens. You'll detox it first. That's a warning. Severe in some people, not severe in others. It was moderate in me. And then after that goes on for a few weeks, some people don't even have the detox thing. It's incredible. I mean, you see if that happens for you. Consult with your physician first. InfoWarsLife.com. We've got more of it in right now, shipping it out on a daily basis. Or 888-253-3139. Your purchase supports the broadcast one way or the other. I want to talk about the fact that we're now 41 years today on the Roe v. Wade decision. And I want to discuss that historical decision and break it down. In fact, guys, I forgot to tell you this. Will you print me the Roe v. Wade decision? Just type the Roe v. Wade 1973 decision. And then give me the Wikipedia on it as well. I mean, not that that's always accurate, but if you look at the bibliograph, the listing of facts at the bottom, that's where the real intel's at. But I want to refresh that and actually read over some of that in the next segment so we know what happened 41 years ago in the year before I was born. And it was, man, I tell you, the cause celeb when it happened, women were out there wearing shirts saying, I got an abortion. You got Gloria Steinem talking about how sexy it is to this day. I mean, this is how you really show your man you're the boss, is you deep six that baby. Of course, really all it does is allow promiscuity, fake relationships, and using homicide of children as birth control. And it is a dehumanization. And what you do to the least of me, you've done to me, Christ said. And notice now they're getting rid of old people with the death panels, and it's happening in Europe and now here. And they're now saying kill babies up to age 3. Will you guys give me the Journal of Pediatrics? Called for killing babies up to age 3. Print that, too. I should have done preparation for this. I mean, I did do preparation thinking about it yesterday and today, and then I saw DrudgeReport.com with the headline, 55 million abortions since Roe, and it reminded me, oh, I wanted to do a show on abortion, or at least spend an hour or two on it, on the anniversary. And so we're going to discuss that and, bring up these topics and these points. But you can't deny human life's cheaper than ever. And statistically, people aren't rendering aid like they used to. America and Europe were always known for rendering aid, unlike Eastern culture that statistically does not render aid. That's just a fact as much. And Western virtue is evaporating very, very quickly. But I still run into doctors and lawyers and accountants and police and military, especially military, and farmers and ranchers and rodeo people and just so many people I know and like who are all about, they're not good because they're hypocrite Pharisees on a high horse telling you how good they are. They're good because they're good. And they like being good. And they feel good being good. And they want to do what's honorable. And it's almost scary how much I like being honorable now. Because I'm 40 years old next month. And I've always been an honorable person. But, man, now it is just dominates me. And even when I know something's good I'm doing, I try to figure out how to do it even better and how to be even more honest. And even when something's sensational, I'll tend to dial it back like my reporters do because I don't want to go all the way. And then I realize the enemy does that on purpose. They're always saying good people with a conscience are bad and lying about us so that they know how we work, so that we will look at ourselves and overanalyze. Look, we're in a war. We know we're trying to be good. We know we're trying to do the right thing. we're not going to ever get all this perfectly right. We're going to make mistakes. Attack, folks. Quit worrying about, we've got our conscience right. We got our head screwed on right. God's our, pole star. And you got to know, is it God touching your heart about something you're doing? Or is it the world? Is it the accuser? Is it the Pharisees? Is it the fake government-run churches and Christians that are there with the fake tough love, fake moral authority that is permeating this country to dominate and control and do mean things and have a hard heart in the name of Christianity? I see that a lot. And I see the fake left the same way. They've got the moral high ground. They're going to tell you what to do. They're going to tell you how to run your life. They're going to tell you that car's bad, pay them taxes. They're going to, even if the car is bad in ways, it isn't about the car being bad or being wasteful or having bad emissions. It's about them taxing you and running your life. So stop letting all this scum tell you you're bad. You understand that? You know, you got it right in your heart. You got a relationship with God. The state isn't God. We don't need the priest class. Well, the media today is saying that this is the 41st anniversary of Roe v. Wade. But technically, it was decided January 22nd, 1973. So that would be tomorrow, because on this Tuesday edition, it's the 21st day of January 2014. But it was argued December 13th, 1971. It was examined October 11th, 1972. They made one-day look at this, and it was decided January 22nd, 1973. And that's directly from the Supreme Court. I have the ruling here in front of me. But regardless, we're talking about them looking at the evidence for one day. October 11th, 1972, they passed judgment, and they decided January 22nd, 1973. And, of course, they didn't really decide anything. They were told by the political class, the Rockefeller Foundation that helped push this since the turn of the century, the last century, the century before the 21st century. Simply amazing. And I want to open the phones up for your stories of abortion one way or the other. What is it like for folks that have had abortions and thought it wasn't a human and believed the lies and then later had children? Those are the people that really get shook up, that really get upset by what they've done and what they've been part of. And I want to tell you something. If you've had an abortion because you were told it was a blob and wasn't real, and maybe you did it in the first trimester, which I do think is probably obviously a lot less bad overall than when it's second or third. I mean, holy Toledo. And you see those high-def scans, the baby sucking their thumbs, playing, spinning around when they're in the third trimester. It's having dreams. It is unbelievable to know what goes on. And then you find out the type of people that are into it and how they make all this money, and the way they kill the babies, putting them in water or throwing them in the toilet. A lot of times they're unable to kill them before they get them out. And people say, oh, let's not talk about this. Well, it's going on. And they want to ban people having signs up of dead babies on billboards. And they want to ban high-def ultrasounds and letting people look at their babies for non-medical reasons, because they don't want you to know. And here's the good news. You can pull these polls up. There's a lot of polls out there, but you can search, and just that polls show abortion less popular than before. And the numbers are around Roe v. Wade, around 60%, depending on the poll, were pro-abortion, believe the lies. They made it a big cause celeb, the new civil rights movement. Women got more freedom, blacks got more freedom. Now kill babies, more freedom, and people kind of bought into it. The last time I saw numbers, there's a bunch of polls out there. Young people, it's as high as 80+% hate abortion, know it's a fraud. That's under 30s. And then even with older folks, it's now 60 to 70% or higher are against it. And Gallup shows similar numbers, not quite as strong. But the point is that the numbers are reversing. In 2013, clinics are closing all over. Abortion drops, and industry is now retrenching itself. The press reports, the National Right to Life Institute reports. So we're gaining ground. The problem is they're institutionalizing it, making you pay for it with tax money. Travis County takes money out of everyone's paycheck and has all these new hospital district taxes, you name it, to make you pay for abortions. They promote it in schools. So their answer to us resisting them is to double down. But the good news is we're winning the hearts and minds. But Roe v. Wade, and, you know, even the woman that was part of Roe v. Wade, you never see her on TV anymore, very rarely. She's been traveling the country for 2 decades saying that it's horrible, it's wrong, it's a fraud, she was wrong. What I don't like is Gloria Steinem and others wearing shirts saying, I got an abortion. They're back doing that and saying it's sexy, saying it's the ultimate feminist action. I've read these quotes. And it really upsets you. You know, it's one thing if you say, look, I got raped or I did it in the first trimester or I'm poor or yada, yada, yada. They don't tell you that there are more people wanting to adopt kids every year in this country than there are abortions. They always say, well, nobody wants these black babies. Nobody wants these minority babies. I mean, I've been told that many times myself, face-to-face, by pro-abortion people on air and off air. You've all heard it. The truth is, you know, everywhere I go, I mainly see white people taking care of mentally disabled Hispanic and black children because they're racist crackers. And that's why they have those, you know, special needs kids that are an absolute nightmare to deal with in many cases because their love is so great, they feel called upon to do it because whites are evil, folks, inherently. Okay? Of course, I'm being sarcastic. House committee passes bill to completely ban taxpayer-funded abortions. That's lifenews.com. But if you go to Infowars.com or DrudgeReport.com, we have links to the 55 million abortions since Roe. And you think about that. You know, I kept saying 51 million in the last 4 or 5 years because I hadn't checked the latest numbers. It's 55 million dead babies. And then now, what do you expect to come out of this? Remember this article from a year and a half ago, and people didn't believe it, February 28th, 2012? Bioethicists argue killing newborn babies should be allowed up to age 3, and that was in the Journal of Medical Ethics, prestigious journal. And when this first came out, people couldn't believe it. This already goes on in Europe. And then they pulled the journal. And then people said we were lying, but then the journal said, no, we admit it was published, but we've withdrawn it. And then the London Telegraph picked it up, Fox News picked it up. You know, Drudge Report carried our article. Drudge went and, you know, I'm just keep giving praise where it's due, and clicked on the journal and saw it was real and forced the media to cover it. But for a week, they said I was a liar and it wasn't real. Just like everything else. They're not buying bullets by the billions. They're not training with paper targets of women and children. There's no plan to confiscate guns. The Army's not training to take on the Tea Party, even though now they admit all that's true. There's no drones in American skies. They're not using them on farmers. Alex Jones is a liar. Now I'll admit it. When we put that report out, they came out and said, there's no way. Dr. Peter Singer at Princeton, who is an icon of PETA, they're really a transhumanist eugenicist group, has said forever a baby is no more value than a mackerel. A mentally retarded person has no more value, I think he said, than a roach or something. You have to pull up the exact quote. Pull up Dr. Peter Singer, children are like mackerel, and then disabled children are like, it's really sick. Old people are, you know, just get rid of them. And it's like, oh, you're so liberal. Oh, it's so trendy. Oh, you have such a heart. Oh, you're so good because you're funded by the Rockefellers and anti-human eugenicists who want to make us totally cold and say we're all animals and have no spirit, no soul, no free will. And so, you know, divorce is okay even if it makes your kids, tears their guts out, makes them feel like they're dying. Because, you know, that's just a biological feeling. So you go with your feeling to leave your wife or leave your husband and do what you want because you want to go out and party and you want to be able to do whatever you want and you want to be able to use the wife or the husband as a babysitter when you go out party, you know, on and on and on and on. This worldly, sick system, and the churches endorse it, all of it. Dr. Death and the Religion of Genocide, disciple of Pianka, goes further, wants 100% of humans dead. Yeah, that's one of our articles on NBC News. We need to find the Dr. Eric Pianka. You know, those are good quotes, but I want Dr. Peter Singer quotes. There it is, Peter Singer. Since neither a newborn infant is nor fish, it's, yeah, here's the quote. They just blew it up for me so I could read it. There's a clear crossover between the madcap words of ecology and bioethicist. Princeton University's Peter Singer, probably the world's most well-known bioethicist, advocates the right of parents to be able to kill their own newborn babies. Well, actually up to age 3. This journal just repeated what he says. Singer compares babies to mackerel, writing, since neither a newborn infant nor a fish is a person, the wrongness of killing such things is not as great as the wrongness of killing a person. And see, that's the globalist sick lawyer argument. They dumb you down. They program you with the screen time, the kids. They wire the brains where they're receptive biological androids, in his own words. And then as an adult, you're not a human either. And that's their weird Illuminati, twisted Masonic worldview, that if you're not conscious of what's going on and you're not aware of all this, and I've been told this by globalists that have tried to co-opt me, I mean, you wouldn't believe the contacts I get. I mean, I haven't said this yet, but I've been invited as the keynote winner speaker, and I've accepted at Oxford. I have to pick the date in March now, but they recommended it be a Saturday night. And they're going to have the faculty and people there. I mean, it's not just speaking at Oxford. It's speaking, the keynote, addressing Oxford. And that's something I can say on record, folks. I have been lately contacted a bunch by people at the highest levels. And obviously, if I don't go meet with them, they will take it as a disrespect, and something might happen to me. I mean, that's how bad this stuff is at the level I'm at, ladies and gentlemen. I decided to meet with you because I know you're a serious man. And out of respect, I'm here. But this drug business, I believe it's going to be the end of us. And we control the church and the courts because gambling and women, it's a vice people want. To paraphrase Don Corleone. But this drug business, but I mean, separately, I'm never going to join with the New World Order. I will certainly meet with them, though. It's always interesting. I met with a real member of the Illuminati about 3 years ago, and it's just unbelievable. And the only reason I'm given this information is I won't tell anybody. That's the only reason. But that's what they always tell you. They go, look, these people aren't human. They don't want to be free. They're not illuminated. You're illuminated because you know all this. Join us. Join us. Join us. Join us. Join us. The power, the life extension, the control, everything. It will be yours. And I know their spirit. I feel it. I could join with them, but let me just tell you now, I'm not joining you. Understand that. We'll be right back. Well, now that we see the economics of one of predatory actions and dumbing people down and reducing society and not creating economies that actually have sustainable real jobs, but destroying sustainable economies by calling it sustainable, our journey towards total implosion is going right along. And then meanwhile, humans aren't even needed now unless we decide we're needed and decide we want to build a world for humans. Kind of like you build a dog park for dogs, or you build a human park. You build a habitat for lions. You build a habitat for hippopotamus. We're having a habitat built for a technocracy that we're not in. And this is in the globalist own words. France and China, of all places, are leading the revolution to robotics to replace 99% of their workers. And they're only a few years away from their prototype factories working without humans. Almost completely without humans. Again, by design, not some natural progression. All the tech with back doors built into it. So that they can dehumanize, track, control, and war game their incremental takeover to predict the future and predict everything we're going to do and to gauge how we're going to respond and have super quantum computers going after us. We have to make the decision we don't want to go down that route. We want quantum computers to build truly sustainable, space-based ring cities in space and then blast off 300-year missions with 3-4 generations that are going to live in a high science-based system, mining the asteroid belt and then blasting off to the nearest star systems. Man, boom. I would raise my kids for that mission, have them ready if they wanted to do it, to be part of that. We should have ring cities built right now. Should have already launched 50 of them. I mean, I could go on, the potential of what they've suppressed, the adventure of colonization of space, of colonization of the undersea, We've got the resources, we've got it all. Instead, we put the resources into controlling and dumbing people down. So when you say it's my right, it's my abortion, I've had a bunch of abortions, and you wear a shirt and don't, you dumb man, don't tell me. I'm talking about humans going to the next level. I'm talking about valuing humans. I'm talking about if you don't decide to bet on humanity and be a fan of humanity, again, The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino, great movie. Keanu Reeves tells me it's one of his favorite movies. By the way, Keanu Reeves doesn't do interviews. I've known him well over the years, talked to him a lot. Haven't talked to him in a few years. I need to contact him again. He's a big fan of the show, the films. In private, he'll totally smart, knows everything, totally cool. He just won't talk to any media because he knows they're all idiots. But that's all a side issue. In Devil's Advocate, the devil says, I'm a fan of man. I want to empower you. And that is pure bull. The spirit of the devil, whether you believe it's real or not, the idea, the archetype of Satan, wants to kill, steal, and destroy and suppress you. It's God and God's creation and the life force that's regenerative and good. Beautiful sunshine, the stars, a child laughing, a babbling brook, hummingbirds outside your window at a morning glory drinking nectar, the smell of ozone in the air on a spring morning, catching that big shark that comes up to the boat, hanging out with your buddies who you know are good friends and having the camaraderie of people you know you can trust, that kinship. You know, the love of a woman in your arms and that passion, and that intensity and that goodness. All of that is the shared experience of humanity. To hear music for the first time that's so beautiful, or to hear your child play music that they are doing on a keyboard that's impromptu, that's some of the best stuff you ever heard, and to know that they have the genetics of top concert pianist and violinist, and just to hear it coming out of them. And it's just so wonderful, and to want goodness for people instead of going, they're all weak and don't know the power we've got, and we're going to control them and take them over because they tear you apart if you tried to help them. The only way for you to achieve your true destiny is to realize that and break away from these people. The dark side only wants to recruit those of us that are good because they know as their evil comes in, we will, as a law of nature, for every opposite, for every action, you will have an equal and opposite reaction. They know that those of us that don't sell out spiritually, that don't join with the hot flame of evil, that is very alluring because you're not tired. You don't feel weak anymore. You don't feel bad for people anymore. You don't have a conscience anymore. You can just feel the evil power and just join with it. But then you realize that it dams you off from all the great understanding and all of the love and all the compassion and all of the true art, that you give up the deepness of your soul for the temporal power to be able to dominate on this planet. You only have an intellect for things evil, only an intellect to dominate, only an intellect to commandeer good things and twist them. They're blind. They have no idea that the whole universe is before us. We're at a literal historical jump gate to things the eye has not seen, ear has not heard, things we've not dreamed of. But we've got to make this decision properly. And you can't have other people paying for your child that's predisposed to cancer, or your child that has a chromosomal problem, or your child that has a cleft palate, or your child that's missing a foot. And this is the new eugenicist Spartan plan, reborn 2,500 years later. This is the Nazi program. This is the plan. The Nazis were only picking up on the British U.S. eugenics program. And eugenics comes right out of the Greek, set up by Galton in 1854. I mean, this is all facts. This is not my opinion. You go see a movie like Superman, Man of Steel, where it's a planet where every baby is genetically engineered by the government for special tasks. That's actually their plan. They're telling you through movies like that. Why do you think that's in the original Superman literature? Why do you think that's in all the old literature? Because that was the culture, and that was rock and roll cool. That was rock and roll cool in 1900, 1910, 1920, 1930, until 1945, when everything Hitler was doing came out. He was just doing it quicker than other people were. But he was doing it systematically against certain groups, and he had a plan to take over the world and bring in Planned Parenthood and bring in forced abortion and bring in social engineering where you get welfare because the state controls the economy. If you abort your children, if you go under social engineering, to phase people out incrementally so they wouldn't resist. How to buy off the ruling classes of the Asians and of the Latin Americans and of all these other groups. and then to eliminate them, to get rid of them. And they were going to go through all of Russia and all of America and pick out the children with, quote, Aryan features. Viking features is what Hitler liked best. He thought the Germans were mongrels because of so many different influxes and invasions, and was ashamed of the Germans. And, oh, he loved the English, who he thought were a superior type of mongrel Viking, as he described them. Just all this craziness, ladies and gentlemen. And he said the Germans deserved to lose, and that's why they lost, and flood the subways, kill hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children hiding in the subways, because the Russians were using the subways to come into Berlin. And they said, kill everyone in the tunnels. He said, kill them all. That's what signing on to this stuff will do for all of you. And by the way, you know, my dad's professor, the head of the botany department at UT, who'd known him, my dad, when he was in high school, because my dad scored the top 125 in the state, then the top 6. And they took the top 6 aside and said, we're carrying out a eugenics program. And it's not like the Nazis. They only targeted one group. You know, he was like, I breed moths and plants, and I can tell you how great it is. And here's the top people at the university. And if you work for us, we're creating a technocratic elite, and you'll be part of the New World Order, and we're going to set up a worldwide scientific system of control. How's that sound? I mean, that's what the top 6 people in Texas got a speech in 1967 when my dad went to college. And New Spear 2 years before that. I mean, I remember when I was a kid driving through Austin, and oh, that's Spear's house. Yeah, we had dinner there a lot of times. My dad was friends with him. Out of all the different people that went through, my mom went to his classes. He didn't like her. He'd scream at her and, you know, say, and my wife knew him too at UT, and clean your, well, he knew my mom too. I think he liked her. The point was, you know, it was my wife told me the story. You know, clean your trowels and stuff in the botany department perfectly, and, you know, all this other stuff. So I guess that's 2 generations. My wife and my parents knew him, and he wasn't even what you'd call a bad guy. My point is, he was par for the course. You don't get into, by the way, he was Jewish, and for eugenics. You don't get into these groups and these organizations unless you're part of this. This is the religion. And there are competing camps. There are competing organizations. In that structure, they are debating it and fine-tuning it and all the rest of it. But make no mistake, this is a technocracy. That's what the drones, the robots, the GMO, all of it is a giant laboratory. And the sooner people figure that out, if we ever got the pro-life movement, as we're starting to do, by reaching out to them, in fact, I want to start getting more of the pro-life movement on. The head of Life News, the head of lifenews.com. I want to get more of the mainline pro-life people on to say, do you know about eugenics? Do you know about Margaret Sanger's plan to carry this out? And they'll all go, oh, of course we do. Yes, it's horrible. But I want to tell them we need to steer into exposing the larger ultra-Hitlerian agenda that is connected to all of this. Therein lies the answer to really countering this whole system. Therein lies the answer to people getting the big picture and pulling back and understanding it. And again, I didn't even know any of that stuff about UT until my mom came in one day at the old office, and it was on a Sunday, and we were going to a ballet recital for my daughters. And she was meeting us there. My wife was meeting me there with the kids. And she watched about 30 minutes of it. She said, that's not true. It's not that bad. My mom's real smart. She's read, you know, she has a degree in history and read literally probably 1,000 history books and is obsessed with it. More than 1,000 history books, probably reads 2 or 3 a week. And she goes, it's not that bad. My dad said, no, actually it is. At UT program I was brought into, and it just suddenly started reeling off the data. And I even knew then that all the major universities were run by this. It was just then hearing it from my dad, confirming it and telling my mother for 5 minutes about it. And I was hearing all this. And then later I talked about it on air, and he said, I didn't say you could talk about that. I said, you didn't say don't talk about it. So now the cat's out of the bag on that, but it's not that big of a deal. That's just standard operating procedure out there. So do you see how it all ties in? We can't attack abortion about arguing whether it's a human or not. We can't attack abortion where they throw in, well, what about rape and all these, special case things? Okay, how about in the case of rape, then you still can. Kill the baby because somebody raped you. How about you give it up for adoption? No one tells them there's groups out there that'll pay the woman money to have the baby. I'm talking a middle-class living for 3 years and pay for everything to not murder their baby because they A, they care about the baby, B, there's a line around the block for healthy babies for adoption. They won't give you any of these numbers, any of these facts. They won't tell you where it came from, who's behind it, who did it, where it's going. How if you dehumanize and demonize babies, it then moves on to old people, infertile people, people with mental problems. And I love how most of the top eugenicists from England and the U.S., there's documentaries out on this, the head of the Cold Springs Harbor and others, and then the next head of the Cold Springs Harbor had to be institutionalized later for being totally mentally ill, thinking they were God, one of them, the other one eating as you know what. I mean, these are people that are messes, people that hate other humans and want to control them and want to kill them and have an instinct to hurt them and have no empathy and think they're elitist because they have that attitude. They are cancers, ladies and gentlemen, who believe that they're hyper-dominant. The toll-free number to join us for the next hour and 20 minutes on your story of abortion or what you think about abortion or connections to abortion or the anti-human dehumanization system. Wide open phones for first-time callers, long-time callers, people that agree, disagree. It's wide open. Just have your point ready. We're going to the next person. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231 is the toll-free number to join us. 800-259-9231. And we will get you up and on the air. I want to hear what you have to say 41 years today after this abomination ruling. And they actually debated it and heard it. I have the report here for 1 day in the year between when the case came in and they finally debated it for a day and then later released it on this date. Everybody says this is the 41st anniversary. The ruling says January 22nd, but it's January 21st, whatever. 41 years ago, this week, this happened. And it's a big deal. Now, let's get into this little giblet of news first. This is out of Beta Beat. Secretly record your friends and enemies with handy pocket drone camera because camera phones weren't enough. And they've now come out with these. The Pentagon's been using these for a decade. They now have, in official Air Force announcements and videos and animations, these big, basically like a predator flies over and releases up to 1,000 micro drones, in some cases millions of micro drones, what they call smart dust. And then they fly down. And then they fly down and then basically surveil you, and then they can even be fitted with firearms and kill you. But see, this is the total rollout of things that if we aren't moral are going to tear us apart. And I want to shift gears to this incredible article. I mentioned this yesterday because it happened at the end of the show. London Independent reported on this along with others. But Amazon plans to ship customers packages before they even order them by watching your mouse cursor in live time. Amazon's sending that data back. By what you click on, what you've bought, and other databases, they believe with 100% certainty they know what you're going to buy even days before you buy it, and will have it packaged and ready to ship, or in some cases, shipping to you before it gets to you. Now, I told you Google said this is the key. They're all racing for this. You can literally predict the future in mass movements. Once everyone's programmed into smartphones, tablets, and computers, everyone literally syncs with that in a brain-human interface. Human brain-computer interface, now hooking you into the web. Then with all the Google glasses, smartphones, everything, it knows years ago, 93% weeks ahead where you're going to eat on a certain date, what you're going to buy on a certain date, what you're going to do on a certain date. And then they can also then artificially create stimuli to create fads and drive fads that will then have human adoption because we're designed to work together as individuals in a collective. So this is the absolute heart of the end of free will and the heart of the takeover. And even though I live and survive and fund this operation off online sales at InfoWarsStore.com, and we don't track you with anything there. It is absolutely essential and key for people to only shop online with mom and pops and Patriot and Liberty groups, but that's even bad compared to shopping at brick and mortar. And I know they treat you bad at brick and mortar and their police states as well, but I'm telling you, this is a scientific grid. When you go in Target or you go in a Walmart or you go online to a big, Amazon or whatever, and we sell stuff on Amazon. I think as a protest, we may pull off of Amazon. People still sell our stuff on there, but I'm really considering that because not even against Amazon. It's that this AI stuff, predicting the future, is the end of us. The end of free will. Because once you can predict free will, you can manipulate it with a stimuli. It's like having a heads-up target display in an F-14, 20 years ago, where you then lock on and the helmet guides with your eyes, and then missiles on, you fire. We think of that as being high-tech. That's 40 years old. And it was old 20 years ago. Now it's the brainwaves in the new aircraft. But just like to control something and aim at something, you've got to be able to see it. When they can see what you're going to do and know what you're going to do and understand what you can do, they can enter stimuli and test moving you until the computer and the stimuli with the average unconscious person or semi-unconscious trance state person that all the studies show the general public, TV heads, are in a near sleep state, a mesmerized state. That's why you take Ambien. That's why you take Ambien. It came out in major medical studies the last week. We already knew this, and if you can stay up when you're on it, or you drink when you're on it, you are now a zombie. And you have a dream that you go to Walmart with your gun. It turned out this guy that shot a cop in Austin, and I said when it happened, I said he's going to be on some type of psychotropic or Ambien in a trance state. He's going to be a shoot-'em-up video game head. Roommate came out in the Austin Statesman. He was on Ambien, drinking beer. He's done this before, leaving for up to a day, not knowing who he is. He's found in his car later. The guy was a shoot-'em-up video game head with a gun. He took it, went into a trance state, just like Sergeant Bales, who was on it, and other drugs out in Afghanistan who killed 18 people. Spent hours burning the little children's bodies, you name it, killing them with knives, shooting them. You literally sleepwalk. When I was a kid a few times, my dad would hear me at 5 a.m. going, I got to catch the bus. I got to catch the bus. And I was like, 10 years old, 11 years old. And I would be in my underwear running down the stairs when he would catch me. One time I was running out the front door, he said, and he was chasing me. I had my book bag in my underwear, and he was in his underwear, chasing me 200 yards down the street towards the bus stop at like 5:30 in the morning. And he went, I remember him screaming, Alex, wake up. It's the same deal. Sleepwalking. When we say the public is sleepwalking or Bob sleepwalks through life, a lot of people are literally sleepwalking. And I've talked to top psychologists, top hypnotists. We're going to be getting some of them on the show soon. These people that can make someone go Manchurian Candidate, think they're going to kill somebody on TV and it's real. They find highly suggestive people. Like when a magician calls up 10 people before his show and then asks them questions, then picks 3 of them. He knows how to ask questions of who's suggestible, who's already in a trance state. And they'll tell you the public is more... I've talked to old, we had someone on the air, old magicians, people that have been magicians for 40 years. They say it's much easier now to do hypnotism because the public's already hypnotized, folks. And you give your little kids these iPads and iPods and all of it, they're already hypnotized. They're already in a sleep state. But you can't discredit the drug. You got to put the guy in jail that killed the cop. Will that bring that dead cop back? No. Realizing what this does, in its own admissions, it says it can cause sleep driving, getting out of bed and sleep driving. People also sleepwalk, prepped, eaten food, made phone calls, or had sex while not fully awake. Oh, yeah, you give these to women, it's over. Often these people do not remember these events. The problem is called date rape, folks. These people can be dangerous to you and others. If you find out that you have done any of these activities, I forget that guy's name that shot the cop that was on it. I bet he's in jail now. What do you want to bet he was convicted? I never followed the case. What do you want to bet he was convicted and is already in jail instead of blaming the drug? So that's what we're talking about here. I'm going to take your calls when we come back all the way through the next hour on these subjects. But this is a big deal. This is the end of our civilization as we know it. And for lack of a better term, even if I was an atheist, I would call what's coming the singularity, the tribulation. 10 kingdoms, world government, chipping, total control, people losing their free will, zombie population, medically. In fact, the mainstream scientists called it being a zombie in the article yesterday. And they're giving us the archetype of you are zombies. For those of us that are awake, we're meant to see everyone else as zombies and dehumanize, and they have the Pentagon doing drills and training where they don't do mass killing of U.S. citizens now in drills. That upsets people when folks get video. They go, oh, it's a zombie drill where you practice shooting 1,000 role players literally wearing Hank Williams Jr. shirts and John Deere tractor hats. I'm not kidding. That's the uniforms they ship around in 18-wheelers for the drills are farmers saying, I need food. And the military practices mowing them down, but it's okay. They're dehumanized zombies. Bottom line, what I tried to get into in the last hour, really, is that abortion and the abortion culture of death is about dehumanization. And that goes without saying, but we tend to lose the forest for the trees. This is part of an overall dehumanization. The robots replacing humans at Apple Foxconn factories. The women being given forced abortions there and put on psychotropic drugs to make them zombies so they'll work 18 hours a day for $2 a day. The globalists have set up a predatory system with all of the excess population they see. And we are losing our humanity. And I see all these cases of people on Xanax, Ambien, you name it, going into trance-like states and killing people, and it's never even an issue in the trial. Even though in that case in Austin I was mentioning at the Walmart, he was on Xanax, which can also do the same thing, and other psychotropic type garbage. Right now, again, 41 years today, Roe v. Wade this week. What is your take on this and the culture of death, or do you disagree with me? Do you think abortion is a necessary evil, as many a liberal now says? And how is it liberal to say a woman has a right to kill her baby when it's another human? Because it is separate. It has a different heart, different blood type in most cases. That's why the feminists call it a parasite. Those are usually women that don't have kids. My children are not parasites. Desmond Morris says that dogs are a parasite. No, they're not. I choose to have them. I love my dogs. I choose to love. I have a soul. I'm not just an animal that doesn't have any direction. I can self-direct. I have dreams. I can resonate towards the good. That's consciousness. I am conscious. Ludwig von Beethoven was conscious. Magellan that circumnavigated the world was conscious. Look at the art, the literature, all of it. How dare you say I'm not conscious? You know we're conscious. You want me to be unconscious and cede the universe to you and hand everything over to you, who probably aren't conscious. Conscious of good and evil. You're only conscious of evil. Let's go ahead and talk to Eric in California. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex.
Hey.
How's it going?
I'm doing all right. Well, what's your point on abortion?
All right. Well, two things. One, I'm an Iraq War vet who took psychotropics when they put me on them back in 2004 after I returned from my deployment to Fallujah. And I ended up drinking on them once or twice, and it made me trip out. But what made me really get off of them was when I would try to sleep, because I have post-traumatic stress, they would put me into this weird dream state, like where I'd wake up and I'd feel like I was in hell. It was very strange. So after that, and not really getting the help I needed from them, I just kind of got off, and I haven't taken them since, and I never will.
Yeah, they try to get everybody on them because there's already artificial chemicals in the food and water, so people are unbalanced. And then they put you on one, you get worse. They put you on two, you get worse. They put you on three, you get worse. They will institutionalize you if they can. And, you know, some people they actually work for that I've talked to. But statistically, it's like playing Russian roulette.
It didn't work for me. They gave me Ambien and Lexapro, so I got right off of them, though, after about 6 months.
Listen, I have girlfriends over the years where I was married that would go on this stuff, and after a few weeks, it was a different person. And, I mean, I just, you know, and again, I'm not saying for everybody it couldn't help sometimes, but they are toxic in and of themselves. That is undebatable. What's your take on abortion?
Abortion. Well, after I got out of the Marine Corps, I met my wife, and we started dating, and within about the first 3 months, I got her pregnant. You know,
I want to hear this. Don't hang up. Back in 1 minute, Eric. Then we'll go to another Eric, John, another Eric, Mark, and others. 800-259-9231. We're taking your call. Doomsday Castle to premiere on National Geographic this January. We're going to be talking about that coming up. Getting everybody ready for collapse of society, EMPs, amazing. Right now, let's go to your phone calls. From about 41 years later, Roe v. Wade, the culture of death. That's what abortion is, 55 million dead. Let's go ahead and go back to Eric. So you got out of the Marine Corps, you got married, continue. We're talking about abortion.
Well, this is before we got married, but we ended up getting pregnant, and she wasn't very sure she wanted to stay with me at the time. So she ended up wanting to get an abortion. And what this did for me was I was completely against it. I was, all for, raising this child and everything, but I couldn't talk her out of it. I offered to do it myself after the pregnancy, and eventually I ended up kind of caving, and I went with her to go do it. And I just remember being there and feeling how evil that place felt. I mean, it just made my skin crawl.
And you got married, though? Have you had any kids now?
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old now. And
could she? I bet she regrets what she did to the other kid.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, through the years we've talked about it, and she definitely has that regret. Just wondering how old that kid would be now, and it's just one of the worst things I think that anybody can do.
Yeah, I wonder if it'd be a boy or a girl. I wonder what their eyes would look like, their hair. How they'd come over and pat on you and say, "I love you, Daddy." But yeah, I'm not trying to make you guilty. I undoubtedly had girlfriends that ran off and got them as well. That's why. It's just a terrible situation. I mean, I think we're all guilty one way or another in this sick culture. And the important thing is we change the culture and reverse it, not totally embrace it even more and say it's a good thing.
Yep. Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Hey, I woke up about a year ago when my buddy turned me on to your show, and I want to say thank you to him and thank you to you. I know you don't like thank yous, but... Well,
no, say thank you to your buddy, because that's really taking action. And those are the people that don't get thanked, is the people that spread the word about this key transmission. Because you, the listeners, taking the info, giving us info, you are the resistance. You are the tip of the spear. So shout out to your buddy.
And we are resisting. Here's to you, Mike.
All right. Appreciate your call, Eric. Look, as long as you and your wife have your heart right, that child is with God forever and beyond all the stuff that's coming. But I say, even though the world's getting to be a bad place, keep having kids. That's what it's all about, facing up to it. All our ancestors gutted up. You got to commit and double down onto the future. That's what I'm doing. Double down. Let's talk to John in Kansas. You're on the air.
Hello, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
First-time caller. I had quite a thing happen to me back in 3 days before Christmas in 2011. And I was given 3 dreams in a row, the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, right before Christmas. And the first 2 had to do with an abortion I made a girlfriend have 34 years before. And the first dream that came the 22nd, I relived that night when she was crying and arguing and we don't need to have this abortion. And I was screaming at her, you lied to me, that you said you couldn't get pregnant and we don't have time for a child right now. And it was just a horrible night, but boy, I really had my kahunas going, and I was really forcing it down her throat that this was what was going to happen. When I woke up, I was not a very happy camper. The next morning at about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, the Lord put me in her place and let me know what I did to her, how horrible I made her feel.
Sir, this is too powerful. We got to come back. I want you to start over, okay? Start over, tell the whole story when we come back. All right, John?
All right.
We should do this all week. We should just open the phones up from the start to finish and really talk about this. I get tears in my eyes. I can tell he's starting to cry. Don't break down. Tell the story. God wants to hear this. The people want to hear this. And it's good to admit what we've done. It's good to admit we've been evil. It's good to repent. That's the key. That's the test. All will be forgiven. We'll be right back. Decide if somebody even lives, if they don't serve society, like so many socialists have said over the years. These are really authoritarians. And it sounded like a Charles Dickens Christmas carol or Christmas story that John in Kansas was starting to get into. 3 dreams he had about an abortion he was involved in decades later. So start your story over, sir. You've got the floor to tell your story. Then we'll move on to Eric, Mark, and many others that are patiently holding. Go ahead.
Well, she and I figured out she got pregnant because she ran a fireworks tent for several years, and that summer I happened to be staying with her, and we were so busy the night before the 4th of July that we just stayed all night in the tent. Well, we didn't have any protection with us that night, and things happened. Well, so many months later, we find out she's pregnant, and she was all for an abortion until the night before the abortion was scheduled. And that night was just awful, Alex. She was crying, she was begging, she was pleading, and I just, no, you said you couldn't get pregnant. We're not ready for a baby. You are going through with this abortion. And it was just a horrible night, and I got to relive it 34 years later. The very next morning, at about approximately the same time, 3 or 4 in the morning, God put me into her body and into her mind, and what I did to that woman by forcing her to have an abortion. And not long after that, she acquired a disease called endometriosis, and she was never able to have children.
I was about to say, a lot of times abortions actually, they double the chances of cervical and uterine cancer. That's on record. Look it up, folks. And it causes endometriosis in many of the cases. And for those that don't know, that's the stuff in the body that causes the menstrual cycle to slough off the cells, but then it starts eating their womb and other organs. Continue. That's another gift they don't tell you at Planned Parenthood. You get, I think the number, you can look this up, is a 20+% increase in endometriosis per abortion you get. But folks, don't believe me, just check out cancer risk from abortion, endometriosis. Please continue.
Well, it was just, when I woke up that morning, I felt so horrible because I'd never known what I'd really done to that woman. And she was the woman of my dreams, and I blew it, and I never had as good a woman as that in my life again. The third dream had nothing to do with the abortion. It had to do with some close friends of mine. But those 2 dreams themselves just set the tone for Christmas, and I didn't have a very pleasant Christmas.
Yeah, I've had the worst Christmas of my life this last 2013 into this year, but, you know, that's because everybody's being challenged right now. Bad stuff's happening everywhere. Good stuff's happening as well, but we're in a quickening phase, a very important phase. Anything else you'd like to add with that testimony, John?
Just that abortion should never have been legalized. It's awful.
God bless you, brother. It's dehumanization. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I was never a super jerk, but I'm a lot nicer than I was when I was 18, 20, 25. And I think about how I was a jerk to my girlfriends compared to the way I act towards women now. And the weird thing is women, as everyone knows, on average like being treated badly. I mean, it's been proven scientifically, on average, like that's supposedly dominant, when it really isn't. And I'm not saying all women are like that, but it's really screwed up society. And, you know, in my cases, and I'll just say this on air, it would be girlfriends would then be mad at me after they had an abortion, and I wouldn't even know they had an abortion. They would get really mad, and then they would go out and a couple times and get an abortion and not see me for a month and later call up and go, let's date again. But they'd still hate me after that and blame me for it, which I guess I was responsible in some way, obviously. But God forgives us. Loving another woman is not a crime, ladies and gentlemen. You know, loving a woman, loving a person. The whole issue here is that when we then dehumanize those babies and just, you know, say it's a parasite, it's really feminist, the greatest thing a woman can do is abort their baby. I mean, these are quotes I'm giving you that have come out of the mouths of these feminists. Just look it up. I mean, I've suppressed a lot of the stuff I've read because it's so sick. And it's a sacrament of the Democratic Party and the eugenicists. They love killing kids. They love it. It's a sacrifice. And you're always hearing about abortionists that are into the occult and are devil worshipers and keeping the babies' bodies. Folks, they're into this. I mean, you got to be into it. Let me tell you something. Doing real medical procedures and helping people, even though it's incredibly stressful, these professionals like doing it because they really like doing a good service. Medical procedures are grueling. I've worked as a small animal vet, large animal vet, dental assistant. I've talked to a lot of surgeons. I've watched, the medical channel. I've seen this. I mean, these are professionals who really are dedicated, and I admire them. But most abortionists are, a lot of people get into it, believe in it. They only do it for a year and quit and become pro-life. In fact, the biggest pro-life movement is a lot of former abortionists and people that were for it, because it really gets to them. They discover it's not fun. And the horror stories of these abortuaries, these are satanic temples of human sacrifice. You're like, oh, really? Every culture sacrificed children. There is a group in every culture, a manifestation of evil that wants to gut children, wants to chop up children slowly. Let's go ahead and talk to Eric in Pennsylvania. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Alex, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm not doing too good talking about abortion, but it's got to be done.
My take on abortion is, I got three quick things. I don't think it should be allowed, period, except for in a rape case or within the first 2 weeks before any cells are formed, before any pain, anything can be harmed.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, but see, that's the creeping deal. If somebody did it in the first month or two, that's God's creature. It's going to grow into a human. It is the beginnings of a human. But they want to keep partial birth going 9 months. The baby could just be cut open in a cesarean and given to adoption. Go ahead.
Right, I have to agree with you on that, too. I never understood that. Even your comment was, Democrats like death. That surprises me. Why don't they like guns if they like death so much? It's like, if we could just take out these liberals, like take a liberal shooting day sponsored by Cuomo, how would that go? If we could all reach out at this point in our lives, where we are in our country, and just help each other and don't seclude ourselves in. I mean, we have to reach out with each other right now more than ever.
I agree. You need to take a liberal out and a mainline Republican out, shooting and waking them up and talking to them. The last thing they want us doing is engaging each other. We're going to take the world back in little decisions and doing the right thing. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, I'll be on a road trip or doing something and a beautiful woman tries to hook up with me and I don't do it, because I care about my family and my wife and everybody. But as a man, it's hard to do the right thing, but it feels good after doing the right thing. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. But, just this attitude of anything goes, well, then now we're going to kill our children, 55 million of them?
Right.
God bless you.
I had, Alex.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, last thing real quick. A lot of people that take these Ambiens and these psychotropic drugs. I was a prior Navy spec op guy for 6 years. Honorable discharge. Went to college afterwards. Got a bachelor's. All that. Fine and dandy. I tried taking Ambien a few times, and I'll be honest with you. I think it will help some people, but I would say for a lot of people, we should be on these. For example, when I was taking it, I think it'll bring out the real, true personality in somebody. For example, when I took it, my fiance was really mad at me because I ended up waking up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was giving our 2 guinea pigs a haircut. And she's like, what in the hell are you doing? And I said, I was just giving the guinea pigs a haircut. Nothing, I wasn't harming them. Just very strange. It can do strange things to a lot of different people. And that's what I think doctors need to really watch with some people that are unstable. There's a lot of people out there that do really need help, and we need to really help them if we can, whatever we can do. I know it's a confusing world, but thank you, and that's all I had. Thank you for...
Thank you so much, sir. God bless you. Yeah, no, I talk to people that, need to sleep when they get on an airplane or whatever, and they take that, and I'll hear about these stories, people I know where, they'll be trying to walk into the bulkhead door or whatever and get in, they think it's the bathroom. I mean, it's just... you're sleepwalking. And thank God I haven't done any sleepwalking since I was about 14. The last time I was at my grandmother's house, they had a big 42 game, the dominoes, like 5 tables going in there. Because, Baptists can't play cards, but they can play dominoes and bet, of course. That's all right. It's not cards. It's not evil. You had to tell a Baptist. My grandma was really a Methodist, but a lot of family was Baptist. They don't say hi to each other when they're passing each other at the liquor store. And you know what they call bottle openers in Texas? They call them Baptist church keys. Anyways, the whole point is, the last time I was sleepwalking, I'll tell this story. They were going to about 11 o'clock at night, and I was tired. I'd been working on the ranch all day, had like a 13, 14-hour day. I was staying there, and there was a little room off the side I was asleep in, and they woke me up, and I walked in up to the corner in front of everybody, turned into a potted plant, and peed in it. And they woke me up, and I realized that, but I mean, that's my sleepwalking story. Well, you put people on these drugs, they do that artificially. That's the last time I slept walked. Walking, thinking you're walking to the bathroom because you got to go to the bathroom and not being fully awake. And I guess that's what's happened the last time I sleepwalked when I was 14 years old. And, of course, it turned into a big joke. You know, there at the farmhouse when I was living with my grandmother off and on several years, to keep me out of trouble in Dallas. My dad would send me down there for 6 months at a pop to work me there on the farm, the ranch. Then I worked for a large animal vet. God, that guy worked hard. Sometimes it'd be like 16 hours a day until like a 65-year-old vet. I want to go home, man. It's 8 o'clock at night. He'd be like, if you don't like it, quit. This is the job. We got calls, we go to them. Then we go back and take care of his cows, 9 o'clock at night. I did quit finally. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'd worked for him off and on twice. But anyways, that was what built America, was that type of work ethic. And I'm telling you folks, this country's in deep trouble. Everybody knows that. We're having a discussion about our nation's greatest sin. We're going right back to your calls here, and that is abortion. I think that is undoubtedly when the hedge of protection began to be lowered on this country. But Chris Jordan was telling the story about his grandmother who had no mental problems, had hip surgery, and they put her on Ambien. That's kind of become the side issue here. How many people kill folks on it and sleepwalk on it, the sleeping aid. And he was telling us some stories about that. So briefly, tell folks that story.
Well, it was my mom a few years ago, actually. About 5
was your mom? I misunderstood. I thought you said your grandmother.
Well, she's had numerous surgeries. She's literally the bionic woman. Fake knee, 2 artificial. And, yeah, when she was...
It sounds like the mic's off.
When she was in the hospital, talking about having her hip done, they actually put her on Ambien, and we had to tell them to take her off of it because she was on the 3rd floor of the hospital seeing little people outside of her window, people talking to her from inside the TV at night. At one point, she actually, the day after her surgery, was in the elevator at 3 a.m. saying that she'd heard the fire marshal on the announcement intercom saying there was a fire in the building.
And when somebody gets on this stuff and goes and shoots a cop, they go to jail instead of stopping these psychotropics and other drugs that are clearly on the inserts say they do this. But the pharmaceutical companies have no liability, and now they're trying to put kids on it. Incredible. All right, let's go back to your phone calls. Eric, and then we're going to go to Mark, and then Rodney, and Monica, and David, your stories of abortion or your take on abortion 41 years later, Roe v. Wade today, 55 million chopped up children. Eric, you're on the air from Connecticut. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Alex, first time, long time. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, brother. So what's your take on this?
You know, I've always kind of supported abortion, but, you know, I've been changing my views a lot lately. And I kind of believe that man's greatest gift is love and God's greatest gift is life. And to destroy life, the destruction of life is just is abhorrent to me. You know, how can you take a gift and just smash it on the ground like that? It's just, it's terrible.
Well, sure. And I mean, and if it went on some, that'd be one issue, bad enough. It's the embracing and saying it's good. Well, now it's good to kill grandma. And see, if we debate it from that angle, we win the debate. If we just say, you women don't have a right to do that, and you're blah, 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 or you men, when it's usually men making women have abortions, then we don't have the moral high ground. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just believe, to put it in context, if you look at the universe, and if in the infinite universe, there's no other life except on this planet, I think people might look at life a little differently.
Exactly. That's like spoiled people. You know, you spoil kids, you spoil your husband, spoil your wife. You know, it always ends badly because they don't appreciate anything. We are just wallowing in life and beauty and art and incredible things going, we're bored. There's nothing fun. I want to do evil stuff because it's deviant. Yeah, let's have abortions. Let's have devil worship. I don't appreciate it. Well, you'll really appreciate life if somebody took you up in a spaceship and threw you out there into the vacuum.
Exactly, and I just think people should revere life, all life, more. People are just, like you said, they're so complacent with the way things are, and I just don't, I don't know if abortion should be legalized, but if it's legal, and now with socialized medicine, you're going to be forced abortion, forced medicated. As you often say, it could very well be the end of humanity if we just let this kind of destruction continue.
Very well said. I really appreciate your call. I don't go hunting because I like to kill animals, and I don't go hunting a lot now, but my son's young. It's that time, biologically, he likes to do it. But we use whatever we hunt, whether it's an alligator that's overpopulated, eating people's dogs. We turn it into boots. We turn it into things. Whether it's a deer, we eat the meat, turn it into chili. We hunt because it's a natural biological thing for us, but we hunt prey animals, and we do it because it's a natural human expression, not because we want to kill an animal in a cage in some caged hunt. And that's because there's good people out there that have been lied to and deceived, and we can't hate them and get in their face and call them evil. Most of them don't know what they're doing is bad. That's what Christ said, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." Now, the people running the show, they know exactly what they're doing. And see, I could argue, well, you got raped, okay, it's first trimester, do what you got to do. The problem is then it leads to third trimester. The day the baby's going to be born, kill it. Kill up to age 3. Kill the old people. Certify the embryos government run. It's just, that's where it goes. There's a reason we don't have warrantless spying. There's a reason we don't have neighborhood spy networks, though now we do. Because it always goes bad. It is bad. The road to hell isn't paved by good intentions. The road to hell is paved by evil technocrats and psychological manipulators getting good people to go out and be the road crew to lay the road to perdition. The road to hell is paved by mind-controlled goody two-shoes that mean well with good intentions. So I guess it's true. But the guy that owns the company that's doing the road is pure evil. And by the way, that's why it's so important to financially support this broadcast, so we can be strong going into the trials and tribulations, so that I can not spend all my time worrying about getting money to pay for the equipment and the expansion and what we're trying to do in the face of the globalists. We're just giving it 110%. And so thank you for all your support. We're able to get a lot of these projects that are always constantly behind and don't ever seem to get finished, but we're getting close. We're getting close as we do all the other daily work that goes on around here. And with the films and the news division and the websites and all we're doing, we're trying our best. And you support this platform and everything that I've been able to do with your help when you purchase products from our sponsors and from InfoWarsStore.com. This hour is brought to you by MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex, where you find their specials and deals. MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. You can follow the links at InfoWars.com or PrisonPlanet.com. Super high-quality storable foods, non-GMO, delicious and easy to prepare, storable for up to 25 years. They want you dependent. The globalists do. It's time to start getting off the grid as much as you can. And it starts with MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. And, of course, we have the best gravity-fed filters. I don't care what the competition says. I would be selling all the major competition if most of the time it wasn't crap that broke all the time. Okay? I mean, it just comes down to that. I finally, 4 years ago, found ProPure, used it for a year, tested it, limitedly sold it for about 6 months to make sure we got great reviews and people liked it. We quit selling other filters just because people weren't happy. They weren't happy with the service, quality, some stuff that was good got to where it wasn't as good. I'm not trying to be mean here. I sell ProPure. I sell the Life Straw and some other great systems as well. But, I mean, they've got very affordable systems that are a pitcher that has the filter in it that cuts out the fluoride, the glyphosates, all of it. They have the big stainless steel models where the spigots are stainless steel as well. Simply amazing. The widest selection of ProPure. We're the biggest dealer of it on the planet, because we sell it for the lowest price online, and we have the promo code WATER perpetually, 10% off, InfoWarsStore.com. And a big way to start fighting the globalists with your children and your family is to filter your water neurotically, to make your iced tea with this water, your coffee with this water, your vegetables with this water. I'll get lazy sometimes, make it, even though I have well water, stuff gets in that, and I've got rainwater collection as well. I'll start making dinner for the kids sometimes when I make it, lunch on the weekend or whatever, and I'll just be lazy getting well water. And I go, nope, I'm going over to my Pro One or my reverse osmosis. I got both. Sometimes you run out, so you go to the the reverse osmosis, and I get it out of the Pro One. We have Pro One. We go on the road. InfoWarsStore.com, promo code WATER, 10% off, or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Also, we have my favorite blend of High Mountain Arabica. People tell me I pronounce that wrong. I don't know. I just know I like it. Grown in volcanic soil, organically grown by the Mexican Chiapas farmers. It's my favorite coffee. A lot of folks say it's their new favorite or it's really good coffee. That's the reviews we get. We have it very affordably priced. Similar coffee like this goes for double the cost at Starbucks sells pretty much the same coffee as their Chiapas coffee. And I've tasted it. It's the same thing. So this comes from directly down there, ladies and gentlemen, and it's super high quality. InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsLife.com will take you right to our supplement and food section. And, of course, we have the Survival Shield that's got the Nascent Iodine and 5 of the things to help detoxify the body, the fluorines, the bromide, the halogen family, but also heavy metals. And we've got the pure Nascent Iodine, one-of-a-kind Survival Shield as well, and the Super Male Vitality that women can take as well. If you have any questions, consult your healthcare provider or your physician. But InfoWarsLife.com, we're all about life. InfoWarsLife.com helps support a platform of things that we've really researched. What is the most powerful supplements? That's why in 6 months we've only rolled out 3 or 4 things. Took me 2 years to get a hold of this coffee properly, directly from the farmers, because we will sell no wine until it's time. We really try to do unto others as we'd have done unto us, and bring you real products. I mean, I could sell you pills and stuff, B vitamins with vitamin K that is not of the highest quality for $2 a bottle. And I could sell it for $30 a bottle. And I, for 6 months, cannot find a proper source of purely organic, super high quality. And the stuff costs me like $10 a bottle, what I think I can get. I mean, just to give you an example, we look at all the, quote, competitors. We study it all. And it's like I almost cannot even bring you products because the industry is so bad. I mean, I want to have 20 products right now. Fund our operation, help people, help get the word out, win-win. And I just can't even do it. We're going to come out with a vitamin D with a vitamin K from the folks we've talked to. That'll supercharge immune system, health, you name it. And just to get them both together in a truly organic form is hard. I mean, we got to certify the stuff from Germany, that they end up making the gelatin out of, and to not use animal gelatin. And I might just go with the cow gelatin or whatever and just say, here it is. It's because we can't be totally neurotic about it. I just think I'll be honest about it. It's just we're trying to give you the best products. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And I didn't even plug stuff last hour. That's why I'm double plugging right now. It's mid-air refueling. That's how I fund my operation. Okay, let's hurry now. I apologize for not going to callers like I should. Mark, Rodney, Chris, Monica, David, we're going to all of you right now. Mark in Oregon, go ahead.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, brother, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Thank you, brother. Alex, it's certainly true and well documented that the most preferred sacrifice of those who worship the devil, those who worship Satan, is a newborn baby. Of course, the partial birth abortion fulfills that role, so to speak. And I agree with you that in the mind of most abortionists, if not all of them, that it is a satanic sacrifice. I think it's really important that we look at this from God's point of view. And in His Word in the Holy Bible, He states very specifically, very plainly, that putting our children into the fires of Moloch, which is also inclusive of abortion, it's just another form of it, is an abomination to Him. And when a nation commits an abomination, legalizing an abomination, as happened in 1973 with Roe versus Wade, I think that is the inception at that date, 41 years ago, of God's judgment coming upon this country, the form of which has taken away the protection from evil, which He blessed this country with. And we have seen the fruits of abortion manifested in the deterioration of everything that's good in our country.
No, that's right. It was the giant battering ram that opened the city gates, and we've been overrun by evil and every form of wickedness since then, and now we're really going to fall. And everyone that dehumanized those children and didn't repent, Everyone who loves and dances in the blood of the innocent, they are going to be brought to judgment.
Sure, and it won't be very long either, Alex. And I just want to thank you so much for bringing this topic up at such a propitious time today on the 41st anniversary of the beginning of judgment on America. And God bless you and yours and even their loved ones. And I just admire you so much.
Oh,
sir.
please, don't. Come on, man. I'm up here fighting for the unborn. If they're not safe, I'm not safe. My kids aren't safe, my children. I mean, everybody thanks me, folks, and that's nice, and I want to thank you. But this is not something we should be thanked for. We should really be angry at those that aren't fighting the evil, because it's going to take over. We're all in danger. It's like if I had a little boat and I was 2 miles from shore, 3 miles from shore, it was freezing water and my family was in the boat, because I could, swim into the shore even if it was pretty cold maybe. But I knew my kids weren't going to make it, and I was in a boat with 20 people, and I was bailing, and people were looking at me going, thank you for bailing. I'd be like, and they're bailing too. Thank you, Alex, for bailing. I'm like, why are you thanking me for bailing? We're going to go into icy, below zero water. Salt water can go below zero before it freezes. We're going to die in a matter of minutes if we go into that water. Everybody bail like your life depends on it, because it does. We need people bailing, ladies and gentlemen. But while we also pull for the shore, trying to be moral, good people. I mean, I cannot express to you how it's hit me to be a moral person. And again, they tell you moral, don't go play cards with your buddies, or moral, don't drink a beer. That's all fake church stuff, so they can make you feel bad about little stuff while they're promoting the government, not fighting evil, not getting people energized, pushing the system, while they're consciously in bed with the state. Consciously not telling their mega churches to go fight abortion. Oh, that's political. Not telling their, don't upset people. They're conscious devils in most of these big churches. And it's all about how they're a good man and their wife's a good woman and they're examples to everyone and they'll do tough love with your family member. Oh, your wife's drinking and won't quit? Divorce her. It's of the Lord. They're a bunch of devilish people that just want to be mean to everybody and do whatever they want. Telling you, the church is where you find the devil in this country now. The big churches, they may want to throw up. Rodney in Texas, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Oh.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, yeah, my wife, I've been married for 20 years this July, but my wife over 30 years ago had an abortion. I didn't know about it till we were discussing it one evening not long ago. And I could see that she was really disturbed by that. And the only thing that I could think to say at the time, because I was shocked, to be honest with you, because I'd known her for 20 years and she'd never mentioned it. We'd talked about abortion many times. But the only thing I could think to say was that I'm sorry that you weren't supported and that you weren't consoled and that no one was there for you because, as she explained it to me, that she was a young kid still in school and she was scared to death. And her boyfriend at the time wouldn't support her and she didn't know what her family was going to think. So, it's women like in those positions need support. I mean, if you're man enough to procreate a child, then you should be man enough to stand up and stand by that woman. And
exactly. I'm going to try to keep my 2 daughters away from men, and it's always the aggressive thug men that go after young girls first when they're like 14, 15, or even younger. And that's criminal. But the point is, I'm going to try to keep them away from men and boys. But if they ever were to get pregnant, I mean, we won't. It'll be, well, that's not good, but it doesn't matter. This is a blessing. This is going to be like more children. This is a wondrous thing. Even if the kids are poor, if they have love, they have everything.
Absolutely. One more thing too, Alex. I had a back injury. I had a spinal injury about 5 years ago, and they put me on Ambien. And I took that Ambien for a couple of nights. But like the second night that I took that Ambien, I had this most horrific dream where I was fighting. Believe it or not, I was fighting the devil. And the only way you can understand the fear is actually having to experience fighting another human being that you know is trying to kill you. And the only way that you can survive is to kill him. And that's what I was experiencing. I was like,
well, the Bible says pharmakia opens the soul up to demons. And that's why so many people, who end up getting on this stuff, marijuana, you name it, whether you believe in demons or not, whatever, that archetype is coming. And it's there, and it's not a good thing. And if people say, well, it's whatever you have with you is going to happen. It's true in studies that taking hallucinogens, pure LSD, mushrooms can boost IQ. I mean, it's been a cure depression, you name it. But that's if you're already a centered person. It doesn't. It's not that it actually makes you smarter on paper. I believe it opens you up to what was already there. You see what I'm saying?
Right. And one more thing too, Alex. Daniel 2. You know, these prophecies are just falling one after another, just coming so fast now. But I'd like to point out that Daniel 2:43 specifies the end. He calls it the great and terrible beast, but it specifies the mixing of whoever they are and the woman's seed. It says that they, whoever they are, meaning not men, are going to mix their seed with the woman, but it will not mix properly because it's like mixing the potter's clay with iron. And Daniel 2:43 talks about
as you saw iron mixed with chromatic clay or ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. Yeah, like they're taking 3 men now and making a baby for gay couples. Going, oh, we want a man baby, put 3 men together. Can you imagine what that's going to do? The type of mutations, the type of weirdness. You know, will it have a soul, or 2 women and a man? All forms of abomination. All forms. You go, well, abomination, schmomination. Look at what it comes out. They can have a sheep that's 100% the same genetics as the sheep before it, but something's wrong with it. They can't ever make the clones tick. They don't have vigor because they don't have the spark. They don't have the soul. I appreciate your call. Let's go to Monica in Ohio. Monica, welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm all right. Go ahead. What's
I'm calling about the abortion thing because I actually experienced one of those, and now I'm a mother. So my personal experience with that is, you know, like 10 years, 12 years later, you have a moral scar that sits on your heart. I mean, it morally pains you more than anything. I think the procedure itself is pretty simple, but they never warn you about the scars it leaves internally. And that's, when I look at my daughter, I was blessed. I was lucky I didn't have complications. But sometimes she'll say to me how she wants a sister or brother, and it makes me think back to that. So I always have that moral scar that follows me. And about every October, I have a couple days where I just sit and wallow and think back to those times, because that's when my baby would have been born that I had an abortion with. It's kind of sad.
It's definitely sad, but at least now you feel bad and you repent. Hardening your heart and buying into it and worshiping Gloria Steinem, that's when you better watch out.
Yeah, and you know, my cousin now, she's 20. She just found out she was pregnant, and she asked my opinion on it. And I looked at her and I said, look, I know you're young and it's overwhelming, and I don't think anybody's ever planning for that. And I gave her my personal experience with it, and I said, so one thing I could tell you that will lead you right is to shut off all these facts and these statistics and what everybody's opinion is, and follow your heart, because your heart always tells you where to go.
And your heart tells you, exactly. Very well said, ma'am. Thank you for calling. Your heart says don't do it. Don't do it. My family on both sides was always involved founding things. And I have a real instinct to want to build space-based colonies that go for the long march to star systems and build, just like my ancestors got on the Mayflower after leaving the Netherlands to try to find religious freedom. In what, was that 1601, 1602? I forget. When did the Mayflower arrive? And they weren't perfect people by any stretch of the imagination, but they wanted to try to carve something out and do something new and get away from the oppressive system. And I think of children like that, the 55 million killed in the last 41 years, Roe v. Wade anniversary today, of just all the destinies that were destroyed and snuffed out, all the opportunities, all the amazing things. And people say, oh, most of them are poor babies. They'll wreck society. Just that attitude that they're trash makes them trash. And all the people that helped me when I was young and did so many things for me. I was a prodigal son. I mean, I wasn't an evil person, but I mean, you know, hundreds of girlfriends, constantly fighting. You were looking for a fight, you came to the right place. You know, you name it, just. And my family stayed there by me, helped me through it all, and I made it through those trials and tribulations. And then the prodigal son comes home, and his other brother, who's been totally good, says, why are you throwing the biggest party ever and slaughtering the best calf and everything? Well, how much do I love you? we didn't lose him. And I think about all the good people we're losing here. And just the spiritual idea that they're crap makes us all crap. Do you understand that? We're over, folks. We're done. Of course they got death camps. We already killed 55 million kids in death camps. Of course they're putting poison in the food and water. A government that wants to kill babies will kill everybody. You don't play games with this stuff. You don't make deals with this thing. You can't sell out to it. That's why I'll never sell out to the New World Order. I can't sell out to it. Spiritually. You can't make a deal with the devil. It comes down to that. I'm going to do 5 minutes overdrive, even though I got a meeting at 2:30 I got to go to. So I'm going to race out of here right when this is over. This segment, a little bit of overdrive. David in North Carolina, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Alex, hey, and thank you so much that you do for us. And I have an abortion story. I was 25 years ago. I was a junior in college, having the time of my life, and I met the woman that I knew I was going to marry and asked her to marry me. And we were students at Liberty University, which is the epicenter of the Christian conservative mindset and the moral majority and all that stuff. So, you kind of try to not have sex before marriage, and that's what's expected of you and all that. But it didn't turn out that way, and she ended up pregnant. And I remember sitting in the parking lot of school in her car. She's crying, and I'm crying, and just faced with the shame and all that. And the abortion issue came up, and we were talking seriously about it, because you can just sweep all this under the rug. And but man, we decided not to do it, and I quit school, married her, and getting emotional. My daughter was the absolute joy of my life, and I had to become a man real quick. I had to get a job because
exactly. They don't want you to have kids because it makes your brain turn on and makes you grow up. They want to keep you as arrested development. Is that what happened? But so some of you, now looking back, there was no choice at all, right? You made the right choice.
Absolutely. No, she's 25 years old. She graduated UNC.
Can you imagine if you would have killed her? We'll be right back. God bless you, sir. More calls. I got to get to the last ones. We're going to race through your calls. Coming back in 1 minute. Internet only, Infowars.com/show. Nightly news, 7 o'clock, prisonplanet.tv. All right, just fade this intro down.
Mainstream media.
I'm going to jam in 4 or 5 calls in the 5 minutes we've got. Chris in Florida. You want answers? Well, so do we. Welcome back, Chris, to the broadcast. Go ahead and make your point, sir, on abortion. Roe v. Wade, 41 years later today.
Well, Alex, abortion can include a miscarriage, but it's more properly termed aborticide when it's willfully induced abortion, whether it's surgery or herbs or RU-486. And when it comes to ultrasound, as they're currently being employed, they can be dangerous. There's a site I encourage you to check out called ultrasound-autism.org. Covers low birth weights, autism, and other effects.
No, there's undoubtedly the sound waves are doing stuff for the kids. But it's a cost-benefit analysis because you can find out so much. About the baby's the wrong way. Now they got to do a cesarean, but they can do that with x-rays. I tend to agree with you. I think they should probably go x-rays better, rather than ultrasound, but they're getting some better systems in.
Well, knowing that sound can kill and sound can heal bones and tissue, it's just a matter of frequency and amplitude. Maybe ultrasound could be made safe.
No, because I've done research on it before I allowed my children to be ultrasound. You do not do it in the first 4 months. They didn't used to. They try to make you do it at 2 months now. And that is baloney. I've done the research on that.
Yeah,
you do not want them to ultrasound a baby in the first trimester.
Well, or even the second. Well, multiple second trimester ultrasound exposure of girls found.
I hear you. I got to jump. We're going to do this again tomorrow, Chris. I apologize. I'm trying to get to everybody now. Alex in Illinois, go ahead. Your points.
Hi. Yeah, I have my own abortion story that I was on hold for, but it seems to reflect what everybody else is saying. But I wanted to ask you, do you think that what's going on with young people nowadays is just another form of abortion, how you just destroy their lives?
That's right. In fact, I was thinking that earlier and never said it. We abort their minds with all the drugs, the Ritalin, the Prozac, the Adderall. We abort the culture. If they can't kill them, they're going to try to kill their mind. They're going to try to soft kill them. And that's exactly what's going on.
One more point, though.
Yes.
On a different note, I called a couple months ago regarding the police state buildup, and you asked for a picture regarding the military trucks from Oshkosh, and I sent that to you today under the subject "mill trucks," one word.
You sent it to showtips@infowars.com?
Yeah, MILTRUX, and it has probably a couple thousand trucks on there.
All right, mill trucks is the subject line.
Yeah, MILTRUX. Also sent it to your writers.
All right, I'll try to get them to do something on it. Thank you so much, sir. Jamming them in quick. Sorry, I'm having to hurry. Phil in Florida, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, I just wanted to say I went to medical school, and I thought I wanted to be a pathologist, and then they kept sending, aborted fetuses down. It got to the point where the sections I would put in would be like handprints and footprints. I had to leave, and I switched over to family medicine from that. So I just couldn't take it, and it was the whole thing personified the culture of death.
Yeah, I've seen a deer that was pregnant, and just seeing a baby deer in utero makes you get upset. Or I've seen baby fish in a fish, and you don't like it. I mean, you're not supposed to like to see dead babies, and it's unbelievable. I mean, I know doctors that have lost babies in surgeries, and they go home and cry because they're humans, even though they have to try to harden their heart to do their work. It's just, what were the people that were doing abortions like that you were around? I mean, were they making jokes about it and stuff?
No, because I was usually in there doing the gross anatomy by myself. It was just, you only gross like 2 days a week. And they would send them down from the GYN clinics and stuff. They'd send them in because in Connecticut, where I was at the time, the law was that the foot had to be shorter than a certain amount, or else they could prosecute the gynecologist. And believe me, I would try to measure them as close as I could, but they were legal abortions, unfortunately. But I had to get out of there.
I hear you, brother. God bless you. Sorry to Robert, Charlie, John, Phil. We just got to that caller. We're going to come back tomorrow, Lord willing, at 11 a.m. Central, 12 noon Eastern, Infowars.com. Thanks for putting up with me. That's what I always tell people when they say, oh, good to meet you on the street. Well, thanks for putting up with me. Thanks for the crew putting up with me. They did a great job today. We're going to talk more about abortion tomorrow as well and hear your stories. 55 million dead babies. We need to talk about them.